Chapter 978. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. The entrance of the cave was about the height of a person. When she was taking off her clothes, Long-E did two things. First, he filled the hole with a lot of snow. Second, Long-E threw down every piece of clothing she took off, working with one hand and covering one's eyes with the other. Long Mengmeng wasn't a bad shadow guard who would peek. Princess Xinyang fell heavily onto the soft clothes and snow. The force of the fall was greatly cushioned, so she didn't suffer any serious injuries. However, her skin was too delicate, and a large area of her arms and legs were scraped by the irregular holes. Ignoring the cold and pain in her body, she hurriedly got up and went to find that seriously injured person. But it was really too cold. She suddenly stomped her foot down, and her entire foot immediately surged with a dense, needle-like pain. She gasped in shock, but she didn't stop to deal with her pain. Instead, she used the weak light of the cave entrance to look around. Xiaoji. Xiaoji. This was a long and narrow underground cave. There were paths at both ends, but the deeper she went, the darker it became. She couldn't see anyone. Long-E, where is it? She looked up and asked Long-E. It's cold. Put on your clothes first. Long-E reminded. Princess Xinyang said. I'm afraid it's too late. He's not dead yet. Long-E thought for a bit and added. If he's dead, I'll remind you. Princess Xinyang. She put on her clothes, but her body didn't warm up so quickly. She was still unbearably cold. Long-E then said, You're right. Princess Xinyang began to walk to the right. The terrain here was very complicated. It looked very close, but it was very difficult to walk. She fell several times and her knees were bald. Her palms were also scraped. She endured the pain and got up. There was only one obsession in her mind, and that was to find Xiaoji. Finally, she fell again. This time, she tripped over a leg. She didn't even think about whether this was a person, or whether this was a living person. When a princess who had lived a luxurious life touched a cold corpse with her hands, it was a terrible shock. Her hand touched his arm. Blood, warm blood. Her heart tightened. She continued to move up and touched his face, which was also covered in blood. She asked in a trembling voice, Xiaoji, is that you, Xiaoji? He sat on the cold ground, his back leaning against the hard rock wall. His head drooped down, unable to bear the burden. His breathing was short and weak. She touched his tall nose and his exquisite brow. Xiaoji, is that you? He didn't respond. She then moved her hand down his arm, and touched the hand that held the sword for many years. There were thick calluses on the web between his thumb and forefinger, and mottled scars on his hand. It was him, right? Was it true or not? At this critical juncture, she realized that her understanding of him was pitifully small. The only 2 nights of intimacy were when she was drugged and unconscious. She had no idea what kind of wounds and scars he had on his body. He had never allowed her to see them. Waist injury. She knew about this. Chang Jing had always mentioned it, saying that it was an old injury that could not be completely healed. Ahing had once asked Jiao Jiao to take a look at it, but Jiao Jiao said that it could only be recuperated. Waist, where is the waist injury? Princess Xianyang did not understand. She thought that the waist injury meant that someone had cut his waist with a knife. That would definitely leave a long scar. She reached out and clumsily undid his armor in the dark. She undid it for a long time, but in the end, she did not know if she had successfully undone it, or if she had forcefully ripped it off. His scent was covered by the thick smell of blood, so she could not smell it at all. She could only use this stupid method. Her hand fumbled around his waist, but it was bloody and sticky. Was there an injury here? Her movements paused. Just as she was about to feel how serious the injury was, her slender wrist was grabbed by a large hand. Immediately following this, she heard a weak and hoarse voice. Qin Fengwan, what are you doing? Princess Xianyang was startled. Xiaoji, it's really you? Her eyes reddened, and hot tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. Xiaoji's injury was serious, so his voice was weak, but his small voice was still very annoying. Qin Fengwan, don't think that because this marquis is injured, you can take advantage of this opportunity to do whatever you want to this marquis. Princess Xianyang suddenly could not cry. His body was burning up, and his consciousness was gradually becoming hazy. However, he did not let go of her wrist. It seemed that all of his strength had been used there. Princess Xianyang raised her other hand and touched his forehead. It's so hot. How did you get here? Didn't you and Changjing fall into the snow pit up ahead? Below the snow pit was this cave. He had pushed Changjing up and fell down. 2 stone slabs in the cave had collapsed, sealing the entrance. He dragged his injured body in another direction. After walking for an unknown distance, his strength was exhausted, and he could no longer walk. Princess Xianyang said to him, "Wait for me here. I'll go call Long Yi." He didn't let go. Princess Xianyang felt the strength on her wrist and anxiously frowned, but she couldn't forcibly pull his hand away. She turned back and shouted in the direction they had come from, "Long Yi, I found Xiaoji." Crack. A cracking sound came from the ceiling. This place was about to collapse. Can you still walk? The cave is about to collapse. Princess Xianyang asked him. Xiaoji slowly let go of her hand. He couldn't walk. But she could. Long Yi Zhongyong and the others didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. Otherwise, if they were careless, the entire cave would collapse, and Xiaoji and Princess Xianyang would be buried underneath. Zhongyong was about to collapse. "Princess, my ancestor, why did you go down?" The death of a marquis was already enough to make him suffer. If a princess was also involved, his life would be in danger. Hearing the cracking sound, Long Yi suddenly pulled Zhongyong back a step. With a loud bang, the cave caved in. With that small hole as the center, it spread to the 2 sides of the cave. The rocks on one side collapsed inch by inch. Princess Xianyang used all her strength to pull Xiaoji's arm, trying to help him up. Seeing that the 2 of them were about to be crushed to death, Xiaoji, who had already used up all his strength, suddenly found strength from who knows where. He hugged her soft waist and turned her around. Boom. The place they were originally at collapsed. Fragments of rocks fell beside them. Xiaoji used his tall and weak body to cover her, protecting her with his arms. Fragments of rocks smashed on his back. He gritted his teeth and held on. The veins on his forehead and arms bulged, and large beads of cold sweat fell down. After a few breaths of time, everything finally stopped. The road they had come from was completely blocked. They could only continue forward, or die here together. Princess Xianyang raised her hand and touched his face. Xiaoji. Xiaoji didn't move. His strength was already gone. He was relying on his obsession to maintain his posture of protecting her. He had already lost consciousness, and only his body was still frozen there. Xiaoji. Xiaoji. Xiaoji, can you hear me? Princess Xianyang couldn't wake him up. His body temperature was rapidly decreasing, and his breathing was weak. Her hand trembled as she touched his neck. She couldn't feel his pulse. His heartbeat had stopped. Princess Xianyang laid under him, and tears suddenly burst out of her eyes. Xiaoji. Xiaoji, don't die, don't die. She still lost him. When did he start to walk into her heart? Was it when he killed old Liang Wang? Or when he took back Qing Er's antidote? Or when he stood guard outside her delivery room for an entire night in the dead of winter? She couldn't say, but she knew that it was all too late. I still haven't told you. My illness is cured. I won't push you away again. Open your eyes and look at me. Xiaoji, look at me. Tears gushed out of her eyes. So losing your lover felt like a knife cutting your heart. It hurt so much. But why did she realize it so late? Why couldn't she realize her heart earlier? Xiaoji. She clutched his clothes tightly and cried herself hoarse. Cough, cough. Xiaoji, who was lying on top of her, suddenly took a deep breath and coughed with all his might. Princess Xianyang was shocked. Her tear-filled eyes widened, and she looked at him without blinking in the darkness. Xiaoji. Xiaoji. Xiaoji turned his head, coughing so hard that he wanted to cough his lungs out. Princess Xianyang quickly helped him sit against the wall and asked in a choked voice, Are you okay? Xiaoji gasped. I couldn't catch my breath just now. I almost died. Princess Xianyang's tears flowed even more violently. She wasn't a person who liked to cry, and she wasn't pregnant. She couldn't understand why she couldn't stop crying today. Xiao Ji leaned weakly against the wall and said weakly in pain, "Qin Fengwan, what were you talking about just now?" "Nothing." Princess Xianyang wiped her tears seriously and tried to speak in a normal tone. "Do you have a match on you? Let me see where you're hurt." Xiao Ji raised his left arm, which was actually more seriously injured but wasn't bleeding, and pulled her into his arms forcefully and domineeringly. Her heart thumped, and she heard him whisper in her ear, "I heard you, Qin Fengwan." Digression. I just took a look. I'm 4 votes away from reaching 7,000. Please break, the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896422826/1042870883. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 979. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. On the ground, the snowy ground that had experienced a terrifying collapse was a complete mess. Zhang Hu almost fell down and was buried together with the snow. Long Yi had saved him in time. At this moment, the two of them were standing 20 steps away from the collapse point. Behind them were 100 guards who had their backs to them and their eyes closed. Zhang Hu didn't have time to give them the order to open their eyes. He looked at the snowy ground that had collapsed and knelt on the ground. It's over for his mother. Marquis Xianping and Princess Xinyang had both died right under his nose. If this matter was spread to the capital, he couldn't escape because he didn't protect his master. If he couldn't protect others, he might have a chance to live. But one of them was Empress Zhao's most trusted brother, and the other was the emperor's most beloved sister. Even if she wanted to find someone to vent her anger on, he and these 100 people wouldn't be enough to vent the hatred in her heart. His gaze shifted to Long Yi, who was at the side. Although he shouldn't say this, the thought of silencing them had indeed flashed through his mind. Of course it was just a thought. Even if he and the 100 guards behind him worked together, they wouldn't be able to do anything to them. The heavens wanted to kill him. The heavens wanted to kill him. Long Yi stared at the collapsed snowy ground. After a moment, he turned around and walked forward. Lord Long Yi. Zhang Hu called out bravely. Are you going back to the capital to report? Could he leave 2 days later, so that he could tell his family what to do after his death? Find the exit and save them. Long Yi said coldly. Zhang Hu was startled at first. Then ecstasy welled up from the bottom of his heart. But since he guessed it, he still had to verify it. Lord Long Yi, you mean the Marquis and the Princess are still alive? Yes. Long Yi nodded. The cave entrance was sealed, blocking the sound to a certain extent, but Princess Xinyang was crying so loudly that even a deaf person could hear it. Zhang Hu didn't hear anything. I'm offended. Zhang Hu intended to search together with him, but was rejected by Long Yi. Don't come over, you'll crush it. Zhang Hu, who had just lifted his leg, froze in the middle of the air. He embarrassedly retracted his leg and said to Long Yi, Then what can this little one do? Long Yi thought for a bit, then honestly said, Disappear. Zhang Hu. Underground, the two trapped in the pitch-black cave had no idea what was happening on the surface. Princess Xinyang was stiffly held in someone's arms. It was pitch black all around, and he couldn't even see his own fingers. However, the loss of his eyesight allowed him to magnify his other senses. His warm breath fell on the top of her head, and his vigorous heartbeat traveled into her ears, shaking her entire heart. His words, Qin Fengwan, I heard you, was like a raging fire burning in her heart. The awkwardness that had accumulated for more than 30 years swallowed her up, and even her cheeks turned red. She was a prideful person. She was a princess. She thought he was dead, which was why she cried and screamed, saying those unbearable words. If she had known he was still alive, people were like this. They clearly came to say those words, but when they were actually heard, they didn't want to admit it. I didn't say anything, she said stubbornly. You heard wrong. Xiaoji repeated her words word for word. He was thick-skinned, so he didn't feel any pressure doing this kind of thing. Princess Xinyang hated that she couldn't find a hole to stuff him in. Why didn't you have such a good memory when you were studying? Xiaoji's face was pale, and he smiled weakly. There was also the last sentence. I like you. Princess Xinyang blurted out. There was no such sentence. You're talking nonsense. Xiaoji made an O sound. So you admit it. There were the first few sentences. Princess Xinyang, who was suddenly tricked. Cough, cough, cough. Xiaoji coughed violently. He was seriously injured and couldn't speak much, but he said so many words in one breath. He was simply courting death. Why, you're already like this. Don't you know how to speak less? Princess Xinyang's shame turned into heartache. She was afraid she would press on his wound, so she reached out to leave his embrace. However, he tightened his grip on his fractured left arm and pulled her into his embrace. He said with an unruly expression, If I die under a peony, I'll still be a romantic ghost. Princess Xinyang, I think you're looking for a beating again. Cough, cough, cough. The injured person pretended to be pretentious for less than 3 seconds before coughing up a mouthful of blood. Princess Xinyang decisively straightened her body in his arms and groped around his chest. Finally, she found the match. During this time he made several sounds. He probably wanted to speak, but he was suppressed by his coughs. Princess Xinyang could already guess what he wanted to say. I'm already like this, yet you're still plotting against me. Qin Fengwan, you beast. Thinking about how he wanted to say it but didn't, and how he failed to tease her, Princess Xinyang wanted to laugh. But when she blew on the match and saw his injuries, she couldn't laugh at all. His injuries were too serious, much more serious than she had imagined. He had grabbed her hand in time and deliberately provoked her with his words, but in reality, he didn't want her to touch the wound on his waist. His skin and flesh had been torn open, and the wound was so deep that she could see his bones. However, this wasn't the only injury on his body. Some wounds were visible, while others were unknown. The entire area was covered in sticky blood. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that this scene was shocking. How did you get injured like this? She forced herself to calm down, but her voice still trembled uncontrollably. Xiaoji hesitated for a moment before telling the truth. They captured Xiao En and Xiao Zhe. That trap was originally prepared for the two brothers. He had risked his life to pull them up, but the price was that he had fallen down. Princess Xinyang couldn't blame him for risking his life. After all, Xiao En and Xiao Zhe were his sons. How are Xiao En and Xiao Zhe? She asked. He leaned his head against the wall behind him and sighed. They were captured by the Dongyi people. Princess Xinyang analyzed. The Dongyi people captured them in order to threaten you. However, your whereabouts are unknown, and the Dongyi people can't find you. They don't know your attitude, so they shouldn't do anything to Xiao En and Xiao Zhe for the time being. Cough, cough. Xiaoji coughed up another mouthful of blood. Princess Xinyang hurriedly took out a handkerchief to wipe the blood. Who would have thought that when she touched her purse, she would unexpectedly find 2 bottles of medicine. She didn't remember bringing these 2 medicines with her, but she recognized them. They were Jiao Jiao's secret prescriptions. The emerald bottle was golden sore medicine, and the white bottle was medicine for wounds. It had the effect of reducing inflammation and stopping bleeding. When Xiao Ji was recuperating in Jadewater Alley, she had seen Jiao Jiao give Xiao Ji these 2 medicines. Long Yi must have stuffed them into her purse when he threw her clothes down. She was pleasantly surprised. She pulled out the cork of the white bottle, poured out 2 brown pills, and fed them to him. Take the medicine first. She remembered that it was this dosage. Xiao Ji didn't eat it. Instead, he frowned and looked at her hand. Her palms and the edges were completely bruised. Aside from the time she had carried A Hing out of the fire, The golden princess of the imperial family had never suffered such injuries. Quickly eat it. What are you doing in a daze? Princess Xinyang urged. When it came to fabricating something out of nothing, his mouth was sharper than anyone else's. When he really saw the evidence of her deep love, he didn't tease her again. He silently took the medicine. Princess Xinyang put away the white bottle and opened the emerald bottle. Wait a moment, he said. This medicine seems to have expired. No. Yes, it tastes wrong. What's wrong? Longy gave it to me. It can't be an expired medicine. If you don't believe me, I can apply it for you to see. As she spoke, she pulled out the cork and applied the medicine to her wound. It's not red or swollen. Xiaoji curled his lips and said, Your hand is so rough. I can't test it. Try using your knee. You really have a lot of problems. Princess Xinyang lifted her pant leg and applied a thin layer of the medicine to her knee. It's not expired. It's a good medicine. Xiaoji saw that she had applied the medicine to all the places that needed to be applied. Only then did he let out an "oh" sound. Princess Xinyang finally understood. There wasn't much medicine to begin with, so she had been tricked again. Xiaoji took the medicine bottle and said with a look of disgust, Your hand is heavy. I'll do it myself. Princess Xinyang was about to speak, but he did not give her a chance. Turn around. You're not allowed to peek at this marquee body. Princess Xinyang. She turned around. He blew out the match. Princess Xinyang clenched her fists. I won't look. Xiaoji. This marquis doesn't trust you. Princess Xinyang. Originally, Princess Xinyang had seen many of the injuries on his body. The act of taking off his armor had nearly taken half of his life away. He tightly gritted his teeth and did not let out a single groan. Then he applied the medicine to all the places on his body that could be applied. As for the wounds that were too shallow or too deep, he did not apply it. The former was unnecessary, while the latter was useless. Princess Xinyang waited for a long time and asked suspiciously, Are you done? Do you need my help? Xiaoji endured the pain and said in a cold sweat, Don't even think about coveting this marquee body. He used a dagger to cut off a piece of the hem, and used the dagger as a fastener to stabilize his fractured left forearm. Finally, he bit the cloth with his mouth and tied a dead knot. He didn't hang his left arm around his neck. He found it ugly. He leaned against the stone wall and calmed down. Suppressing the exhaustion and pain all over his body, he said, I'm done. Princess Xinyang turned around and reached out to support his arm in the darkness. There seems to be a passage ahead. I'll go see if I can get out. Wait for me here. Let's go together, he said weakly. Can you do it? Princess Xinyang was doubtful about his physical condition. Xiaoji used a man's dignity to make up for his lack of strength. Qin Fengwan, didn't anyone tell you not to say that a man can't do it? Besides, haven't you personally tried whether this marquis can do it or not? Princess Xinyang clenched her fists. 2 nights. He raised 2 well-defined fingers and finally reached the edge of death. Do you want this marquis to remind you? How many times? Princess Xinyang was about to explode. How did I fall for this guy? Is it too late to regret now? I really want to beat him to death. He couldn't take a beating now, but Princess Xinyang still held it in. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. When you're better, see how I'll deal with you. Princess Xinyang took a deep breath and regained the elegance and propriety of a royal princess. She helped him up and said calmly, Let's go. Xiaoji didn't need to look to feel her murderous aura, but she couldn't flare up because of his injuries. Just thinking about her dark face and how she wanted to explode but couldn't, Xiaoji couldn't help laughing. Princess Xinyang gritted her teeth. If you laugh again, I'll leave you behind. The two walked along the passage. After walking for an unknown amount of time, they finally saw a glimmer of light. Princess Xinyang was delighted. There's a cave entrance. We're going out. Xiaoji stared at the place where the light came from, vigilant of all movements. Reality proved that his caution was correct. The moment the two walked out of the cave, 2 Dongyi soldiers suddenly turned around and pulled out their scimitars. Xiaoji was wearing the armor of the Zhao kingdom, so it was very easy to recognize him. The 2 soldiers pounced on them, wanting to capture them alive. Xiaoji pulled Princess Xinyang, who was supporting him, behind him and grabbed one of the scimitars. Then he raised the scimitar in his hand and cut their throats, killing them both in one blow. The two soldiers didn't even have time to call for help before they both fell into the snow. Xiaoji felt pain in his chest and fell down powerlessly. He knelt on one knee in the snow and used the scimitar to support his body. Xiaoji. Princess Xinyang stepped forward and crouched down, looking at him worriedly. I'm fine. His vigilant gaze swept forward and he quickly said, hurry and change into their clothes. Princess Xinyang would never wear another man's clothes, but in this life and death situation, she couldn't care less. She took off the armor and outer clothes of the two Dongyi soldiers. The two changed in time. Marquis Xianping buried the armor and clothes in the snow. The corpses of the two Dongyi soldiers were pushed into a nearby ditch and covered with snow. Princess Xinyang also helped. She raised her sleeve and was about to wipe the sweat off her forehead when she remembered that it was someone else's clothes. She immediately put her hand down. She gasped for breath and said, there's no problem now, right? As soon as she finished speaking, the two turned around and saw an old woman with a walking stick standing in the snow not far away, staring at the two of them without blinking. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/1042722323. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 980. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Princess Xinyang was so shocked that she broke out in a cold sweat. The feeling of being caught red-handed after doing something bad was too scary. The old woman looked to be in her 60s or 70s. Her hair was gray, and she looked very old. Her clothes looked like those of the Dongyi people, and were even patched up. She should be a villager nearby. Marquis Xianping maintained eye contact with the old woman, and said to Princess Xinyang calmly, we have entered the territory of the Dongyi people. Be careful. Princess Xinyang agreed in a small voice and asked, what do you plan to do? Marquis Xianping said, act according to circumstances. If it had been a soldier, Marquis Xianping would have killed him mercilessly. But the other party was an ordinary villager. The soldiers of the Zhao kingdom did not kill the enemy's people. Marquis Xianping shielded Princess Xinyang behind him, and took her hand to walk towards the old woman. Old woman, he said calmly, we are soldiers passing by. We are following the trail of some Zhao kingdom people. Have you seen them? The Dongyi people and the Zhao kingdom spoke the same language, but there were differences in accents. He spoke with a fluent Dongyi accent, which stunned Princess Xinyang behind him. Princess Xinyang knew a little about the Yan and Liang languages, but that was in written form. She could translate an article, but if she really had to translate it, her accent would not be very accurate. Xiao Heng had a great talent for languages since childhood. Princess Xinyang thought it was due to her, but it seemed that he had inherited Xiaoji's talent. The old woman's calm and dull eyes did not change much. She slowly replied in an old voice, oh, I didn't see them. Old woman, do you live nearby? Who else is at home? Marquis Xianping continued to ask. No one, just me. The old woman spoke so slowly that it seemed like she was struggling to speak, and her reactions were slow. But considering her age, this was not surprising. Princess Xinyang peeked half of her head out from behind Marquis Xianping, and looked at her. The Marquis of Xianping turned his head, and saw the head of black hair. The corners of his lips curled up in amusement. Old lady. He looked at the old lady again. It's getting late. Can we rest at your house for the night? Okay. The old woman answered slowly. She turned around and walked away with the help of her walking stick. Princess Xinyang looked at the stooped old woman who was gradually disappearing into the distance and asked him, "Are we really going to her house?" Marquis Xianpingho looked around. "There's nowhere else to stay here. At least we won't freeze to death if we go to her house. At the same time, I can also inquire about the Dongi soldiers." Princess Xinyang thought it made sense. Who would have thought that they would stumble into Eastern barbarians' territory? They were not familiar with the terrain, and Xiao Ji was seriously injured. Instead of running around in the ice and snow, they might as well find a place to recuperate. She thought of something and asked, "Do you think she saw what happened just now?" Xianpingho said thoughtfully, "I'm not too sure." Princess Xinyang sighed. "Forget it, so what if he saw? Could he really do something to an old woman who doesn't even have the strength to truss a chicken? Let's follow her and keep an eye on her so that she doesn't tell on us." The two followed the old woman to a simple and crude hut. The old woman lived in a relatively remote area. 100 steps east was a sparse village. Xiao Ji saw the confusion on Princess Xinyang's face and explained in a low voice. "In Eastern barbarians, lonely old people who have no children and no husband will be moved out of the village. They are seen as the embodiment of bad luck." Princess Xinyang suddenly understood. So that's how it is. It seems that she didn't lie to us. She really is the only one in her house. The old woman was old and couldn't move around easily. She didn't have enough food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. And her house wasn't very clean. She pointed to a small house covered in dust and said to the two, "You two will stay here tonight. The food is in the kitchen." With that, she returned to her room and ignored the two strangers. Xiao Ji's injuries were very serious. After entering the house, he could no longer maintain his indifference in front of others. His face was pale as he sat down on the dusty wooden platform. She had encountered a series of accidents as soon as she left the cave. It wasn't until now that she had a chance to seriously size him up. She wouldn't have known if she hadn't looked, but now that she looked, she realized that his condition was terrible. No wonder she wasn't allowed to light a fire in the cave. If she had known that his complexion was so bad, she would have left him to rest and explored the way herself. But on second thought, if she had really gone alone, she would have been caught by the Dongi soldiers at the entrance of the cave. How could he always be so considerate of her? Princess Xinyang was moved. She forgot that she had been driven mad by his words in the cave. She subconsciously raised her hand and touched his forehead. "It's so hot." Xiao Ji took her hand down and held it tightly in his palm, not saying a word. The house returned to silence. Princess Xinyang felt the warmth from his palm. He held her hand tightly and didn't let go. His thumb unconsciously rubbed the back of her hand. It was like a silent comfort. Princess Xinyang tidied up the house and took out some cotton wool and a mattress from the cupboard. These two things were clean, but they were slightly damp. Princess Xinyang went to borrow a brazier from the old madam. She took a fire starter and squatted on the ground to start a fire. She gave birth for a long time, but it didn't end well. She even made herself look like a cat with a dirty face. Xiao Ji sat on the stool with a pale face and looked at her with a faint smile. "Qin Fengwan, is this your first time doing this?" "So what if it is?" Princess Xinyang muttered. "I think it's very fast to start a fire in the Jiaojiao. That's how you start a fire." Xiao Ji laughed. It was too painful. His wound was about to split open from laughing. He stabilized his emotions. He didn't laugh anymore, but the smile in his eyes was almost overflowing. He said, "I'll do it." "Sit down," Princess Xinyang ordered coldly. Xiao Ji sat back down dispiritedly. Princess Xinyang continued to start a fire. Finally, at the cost of burning a small portion of her bangs, she finally managed to start a fire. She started to roast the damp mattress. Then she burned the mattress. The old madam originally didn't want to bother with the two of them, but she was probably worried that if this continued, that woman would burn her house to the ground. She came over with a dark face to help the two of them roast the blanket. Then she brought a new mattress over. She didn't dare to hand it to Princess Xinyang until she was done. Princess Xinyang made the bed and helped Xiao Ji take off his armor. Then she helped him lie down on the warm mattress. "I'll go get some food." She pulled the blanket over Xiao Ji and turned to go to the kitchen. The old madam's living conditions were very difficult. There was nothing but pickled vegetables and flatbread in the kitchen. But the flatbread was hard and couldn't be chewed at all. Princess Xingyang looked at the water in the water jar and had an idea. The old madam was making hemp rope in her room. She was old and couldn't farm or hunt, so she made a simple living by making simple handicrafts. She thought it was time for the two of them to eat. One of them looked delicate and very picky. He probably wouldn't eat the cold food directly. She was a step too late. As expected, by the time she planned to heat up the food for the two of them, the kitchen was already on fire. Princess Xingyang, whose face was covered in soot, stood awkwardly in the courtyard. The old madam looked at her speechlessly. Princess Xingyang pretended to be calm and said in a low voice, "I've cooked at home before. It's your kitchen that doesn't work." The old madam was speechless. Princess Xingyang took off the gold bracelet on her wrist and gave it to the old madam as compensation. The old madam went to the cellar to get a piece of cured meat and stewed it into steamed buns for the two of them. Princess Xingyang looked at the meat soup on the table and said to the old madam bitterly, "So you hid the good food." The old madam left expressionlessly. Xiaoji couldn't stop laughing. His wound hurt so much that it made him twitch. The weather in the east this year was very strange. The first month was almost over, but it snowed heavily. Snowflakes the size of goose feathers fluttered down. Unlike the snowy scenery in the capital, the snow in the mountains gave people a sense of tranquility and distance. Princess Xingyang helped the old madam put away the clothes and straw rope that had been hanging outside. "Old madam, where did your family go?" she asked. She had only asked casually, thinking that the old madam wouldn't answer. Unexpectedly, after a moment of silence, the old madam lightly said, "Dead. They were captured and sent to war. They all died." Princess Xingyang looked at the old madam's lonely and stooped back and didn't say anything else. She saw it. At night, the two of them lay on the bed. Princess Xingyang said to Xiaoji, "Huh." Xiaoji didn't understand why this topic had suddenly come up. Princess Xingyang looked at the dark beams and said in a daze, "She saw us kill the Dongi soldiers. She didn't report us because she also hates the Dongi soldiers. Her family was captured and exiled. They all died in battle. The cruelty of war wasn't something that ordinary people could bear. Xiaoji didn't like war either, but he had a duty. If he didn't fight, he would destroy the home behind him. The Dongi soldiers were the same. Everyone served their own master. However, he had always been opposed to capturing able-bodied men and exiling them. The Dongi king should be killed, and the Dongi royal power should be destroyed." He held her hand, giving her silent comfort and strength in the darkness. Princess Xingyang's emotions gradually calmed down. "Xiaoji, are you asleep?" she asked softly. She was met with a series of even breaths. "That's right. He was so badly injured and had a high fever. He must have been sleepy long ago." Princess Xingyang couldn't sleep. She propped herself up with her arms and stared unblinkingly at his sleeping face through the snowy light that came in through the cracks in the window. 20 years were like a day. His magnificence hadn't diminished. "Xiaoji." She called him again. Xiaoji was in a deep sleep. She stared at him, and a bold thought suddenly flashed through her mind. Her cheeks flushed, and she lowered her head. Was she possessed? How could she be like this? But she propped her head up again and shyly peeked at him, her heart thumping wildly. Anyway, he was asleep and wouldn't know. The well-educated, dignified, and noble Princess Xingyang finally mustered up her courage and slowly approached him with a red face. Her watery eyes landed on his diamond-shaped thin lips. She took a deep breath and did the boldest thing she had ever done in her life. She leaned over and touched his cheek lightly with her lips. In the night, a low sneer was heard. "Qin Fengwan, you mustered up your courage for half a day, and this is it." Princess Xingyang's hair stood on end. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online are available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896422826/1042666729 HTML genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 981. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online will be available here. Is this guy pretending to be asleep? Why is he always like this? Princess Xingyang was in a bad mood. If the words she said in the cave were just unbearable words, then what she said just now was the real deal. Kissed his face. Ah. She was caught red-handed doing this. Doesn't she want face? Princess Xingyang flew into a rage out of humiliation. Her chest heaved up and down violently as she glared at him fiercely. Why are you always like this? Always like what? A certain someone asked, asking for a beating. Princess Xingyang wanted to say something but stopped, mainly because she didn't know what to say. She wasn't stupid, but every time she met Xiaoji, she would be incoherent with anger. She decided to ignore him. Otherwise, she would suffer internal injuries from anger before he recovered. Qin Fengwan. A certain someone didn't give up so easily. Although I understand that you've been drooling over me for a long time, I'm seriously injured now. If you really want me, you have to do it yourself. Princess Xingyang. Can someone give me a hammer? I want to beat him to death. She was already lying down, but she was so angry that she propped herself up with her elbow and glared at him in the hazy night. Xiaoji. Don't think that I won't dare to do anything to you just because you're injured. I'm warning you, if you keep talking nonsense like this, I'll ugh. In the darkness, Xiaoji raised his injured hand. Domineeringly and gently, he clasped the back of her head and pressed her down on him. Her soft lips landed on his slightly cracked lips. She had never been so intimate with him when she was awake. Her mind went blank. The entire world seemed to quiet down, and all she could hear was her thumping heartbeat. After their lips kissed, Xiaoji didn't take the next step. He patiently waited for her to get used to it. After making sure that he didn't bring back any bad memories, he really kissed her. It was a deep and lingering kiss. Princess Xingyang was completely dumbfounded. So it can be done like this? Her heart was beating so fast, and her chest was so swollen that she almost couldn't breathe. He released her slightly and said in a hoarse voice, "Idiot, take a breath." I can't change it. She was about to faint. Her whole body was heating up, and her face was so red that it was almost dripping blood. Xiaoji laughed mischievously. Your heart is beating so fast? Princess Xingyang placed her hand on his chest. Blushing, she muttered. Don't you also jump very fast? He wasn't any slower than her. It was so unfair. Her heart was beating so fast, but she was the only one who was panicking. He was so calm as if nothing had happened. Indeed, this kind of thing also depended on talent. Xiaoji's lips curled up slightly as he looked at Qin Fengwan, who was lying on top of him. He raised his eyebrows and said, Qin Fengwan, the next time you steal a kiss from me, I'll use this standard. Who wants to steal a kiss from you? Princess Xingyang muttered without any confidence, her face turning even redder. He's asleep. She lay down angrily beside him. Outside the house, snow was falling and the cold wind was howling. She touched her wet and soft lips, savoring his deep kiss. She actually liked it a lot. Snowflakes fluttered down for most of the night. Princess Xingyang's heart was thumping all the way until she fell asleep. It was a feeling she had never felt before. It was very strange but also very beautiful. Her mood and breath inadvertently affected Xiaoji. Unintentional teasing was the most fatal. Unfortunately, Xiaoji was injured like this and couldn't do anything more excessive. He could only obediently fall asleep. On the other side, Longyi was doing his best to find the whereabouts of the two people. However, due to the difference in terrain between the underground and the surface, it was already 3 days later when he found the exit of the cave. During these 3 days, Xiaoji was peacefully recuperating at the old woman's house. Princess Xingyang took off all the valuable things she had and gave them to the old woman. As the saying goes, if you take someone's money, you have to take care of someone else's disaster. The old woman lied that she was injured and went to the village's witch doctor to buy a few herbs and some special ointment. Needless to say, it was quite effective. Xiao Ji's fever subsided and his injuries also gradually improved. However, on the night of the third day, an unforeseen event occurred. A group of Dongi soldiers suddenly came to the village. At first, the two people thought that these Dongi soldiers had come to capture them, but later they discovered that this was not the case. They were clustered around a carriage and seemed to be escorting someone with status. When that person got out of the carriage, the two people stealthily glanced at the hillside behind the small thatched cottage. They discovered that it was actually a man wearing a bamboo hat and a curtain. He was completely covered from head to toe. "Are you sure it's a man?" Princess Xinyang asked. "I heard his voice," Xiao Ji said. Princess Xinyang was stunned. "You can hear him from so far away?" Xiao Ji faintly smiled. "Your man is very powerful." "My man?" Princess Xinyang felt a little uncomfortable from this sudden address. Xiao Ji didn't seem to realize that he had said something that made her blush. He looked in the direction of the group of people and said, "Those Dongi soldiers are very high-ranking. They seem to be the Dongi King's personal guards." When it came to business, Princess Xinyang's mood became much more serious. "Is the person there escorting the Dongi King?" Xiao Ji shook his head. "It doesn't seem like it. The Dongi King is at least 50 or 60 years old. That's a young man." Princess Xinyang thought for a moment. "The Dongi King's son?" Xiao Ji said seriously. "We can't rule out this possibility. But why would he cover himself so tightly?" The two people went to ask the old woman for information. The old woman said that she knew nothing about this. She was just an old woman in the countryside. The furthest she had been was the forest 10 miles away. The most honorable person she had seen was the village chief. After returning to the house, Princess Xinyang saw that he was deep in thought, and knew that he had a plan. She asked, "Are you planning to do something? They have a lot of people and you haven't recovered from your injuries. You are no match for them." Xiao Ji said, "I won't fight them head-on." Princess Xinyang's expression changed slightly. "Are you planning to take that person's place and meet the Dongi King?" Xiao Ji silently agreed. Princess Xinyang clenched her fists. "Are you crazy? You've only been recovering for 3 days. Your wounds haven't even healed. If you go and assassinate the Dongi King at this juncture, aren't you going to die?" Xiao Ji smiled easily. "As long as I kidnap him, I won't die." Princess Xinyang frowned. "What if you don't succeed?" The smile on Xiao Ji's face faded. "Xiao In and Xiao Zhe are still in the Dongi King's hands. I've been missing for 3 days. At the time, the Dongi people saw me fall into a trap. I was heavily injured and had to be pulled up by Chang Jing. If I don't appear for too long, the Dongi people might think that I died from my injuries." He stopped there. How could the intelligent Princess Xinyang not understand? The Dongi King had captured Xiao In and Xiao Zhe to threaten him. If he died, Xiao In and Xiao Zhe would lose their value. They would be killed or tortured to death. She didn't try to dissuade him anymore. Instead, she made a request. "I don't object to your plan, but you have to bring me along." Xiao Ji was helpless. "Qin Fengwan." Princess Xinyang interrupted him. That person had a servant beside him, and they were sitting together in the carriage. Do you think that servant is just a decoration? He must be serving him closely and taking off his bamboo hat and curtains every night. If we replace them together, nothing will go wrong. Actually, she had a deeper consideration. Marquis Xianping was a general. If he was really captured, he would rather take his 2 sons and commit suicide than fall into the hands of the Dongi people. She didn't want that to happen. "I'll be fine no matter what. I'm a princess. If they capture me, they can exchange many things with His Majesty. If she was a princess without power or influence, she might not be able to speak so boldly. Everyone knew that she was favored by the emperor, and was His Majesty's most beloved princess." Even though she herself felt that this rumor was fake, it was enough to scare others. Seeing that Xiao Ji still didn't relent, she pointed outside the door. "Are you sure you want to leave me here alone? Do you believe that the moment you leave, the old lady will sell me out?" The old woman who was sweeping the floor in the central room. What really made Xiao Ji decide to take Qin Fengwan away was what happened next. The Dongyi soldiers found the corpses of the 2 Dongyi soldiers killed by Xiaoji in the ditch near the entrance of the cave. The group immediately became alert and started searching inside and outside the village. Xiaoji hurriedly used his sword to break the bed in the old woman's room. He also hid one of the 2 cups on the table and took out a stool, making it seem like only one person had lived in the room. The old woman lived alone, so the villagers must know that this room was originally empty. Xiaoji's actions would make them think that the old woman's bed was broken, and she had no choice but to move into this small room. Princess Xinyang sighed inwardly. He was just like this. He looked like a rough person but was actually very meticulous. He had killed countless people on the battlefield, but he had also protected even more people. Xiaoji used the fastest method to erase all traces of the 2 people living in the room. Then he took Princess Xinyang out of the back door. Since the Dongyi soldiers sent out at least half of their forces to search for the murderer, the security around the mysterious young master decreased sharply. Xiaoji successfully sneaked into the mysterious young master's residence, knocked him and his servant unconscious, tied them up, and stuffed them into a cage. He also gagged them. The Dongyi soldiers' conversation came from outside the courtyard. "Sir Wu, we didn't find the assassin." "We didn't find him either." "Us too. We went door to door and even searched the mountains, but we found nothing. Maybe the assassin has already escaped." "Escaped? I don't think so." This person's tone was different from the soldiers from before. "He should be the Sir Wu that the soldier mentioned," he said warily. "The young master's safety is the most important. If the assassin is still hiding in the dark and attacks the young master in the middle of the night, both our heads will be gone." Princess Xinyang couldn't help but glance into the box. What young master was so important? Other than looking like a pretty boy, she didn't find anything extraordinary about him. If the Dongyi people knew her evaluation of the person in the box, they would be so angry that they would spit out blood. This person was the most handsome man in the Dongyi people, but in her mouth he was just an ordinary pretty boy. "Young master." Sir Wu's voice came from outside the door. "There's a situation in the village. I'm afraid we'll have to travel through the night. Young master, please get on the carriage immediately." Xiaoji and Princess Xinyang finished their disguises. Xiaoji was slightly taller and more muscular, but with a bamboo hat and curtain, it wasn't so obvious. As for the servant, he was a small man, so Princess Xinyang didn't feel much pressure pretending to be him. His face naturally didn't look like him, so she had to hide it. Based on their past experience, no one would deliberately stare at a servant's face without suspicion. The 2 successfully got on the carriage. They couldn't talk in the carriage and could only write on each other's palms. "Princess Xinyang, who do you think this young master is? The king of Dongyi's son?" Xiaoji's palms felt numb. He really wanted to hold her cold fingertips, but he resisted. He wrote back, "Doesn't look like him." This time, it was Princess Xinyang's palms that felt numb. She wasn't as calm as a certain person. Her eyelashes trembled, and her cheeks heated up. Xiaoji raised his brows and wrote, "Qin Fengwan, focus. Don't keep drooling over my body." Princess Xinyang's face instantly darkened. Both of them thought this person must be related to the king of Dongyi, but when they arrived at their destination, they realized they were wrong. A group of women came to welcome them. The leader was dressed in red. She asked faintly, "Is the young master here?" Sir Wu smiled flatteringly. He's here. He's in the carriage." The woman in red asked coldly, "Didn't you say he would arrive tomorrow?" Sir Wu hurriedly smiled and said, "Something happened on the way. I was worried about the young master's safety, so I rushed here overnight." The woman in red's face darkened. "You actually dared to rush here overnight? If you tire the young master out and delay the Saintess wedding, I'll see what you'll do." Hearing the word wedding, the couple in the carriage was stunned. After all this time, did they just rob a groom? Princess Xinyang suddenly looked at Xiaoji coldly. "Congratulations, you're about to get married." Xiaoji had a toothache. He didn't know this guy had this kind of identity. Digression. "Little Xinyang, do you want to rob the bride?" Smirk. JPG. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/1042535363. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 982. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. Long Yi found the village after Xiaoji, Princess Xinyang, and the others had left. The old woman's hut was the closest to the cave, so he went to her first. He had stayed with Princess Xinyang for many years, so he knew her aura like the back of his hand. As soon as he entered the hut, he knew she had been there. He asked the old woman where they had gone. He was wearing a mask, and his eyes were emitting endless killing intent. Ming Ming is very fierce. You better tell me the truth. Otherwise I'll kill you. The old woman was successfully threatened. She raised her hand and pointed to the hillside in the backyard. They left from there. Xiaoji didn't say where they had gone. First, he didn't want to implicate the old woman, and second, he was in case the old woman betrayed them. Protection was one thing, trust was another. If he didn't take care of everything, he wouldn't have been able to live until now. Long Yi went to the back of the mountain and followed the traces to the house where the young master had once lived. The senses of a martial artist were different from ordinary people. He instantly detected the breathing sound in the box. He opened the lid and saw 2 men with their hands and feet tied and their mouths gagged. The 2 of them had already woken up, but unfortunately, they couldn't move or scream. Finally, someone had come, so the 2 of them were very excited. Long Yi looked at them and pulled out the cloth in the mouth of the young master, who looked more pleasing to the eye. He asked, "Who did this to you?" The young master hurriedly complained. "A man and a woman. They were wearing the clothes of Dongyi soldiers, but their accent didn't sound like Dongyi people." "Wait, your accent doesn't sound like Dongyi people. Where did they go?" Long Yi grabbed his neck. The young master trembled. To the Saint Lady's Hall. He had heard the 2 of them disguised as master and servant being escorted into a carriage by the Dongyi King's guards, so they should be going to the Saint Lady's Hall. "Where is the Saint Lady's Hall?" Long Yi asked again. The young master trembled. I haven't been there." He had never been there before. The temple of the Saint Lady was the most sacred and mysterious place in the entire Dongyi tribe. Outsiders had no way to get close to it. If it weren't for his good looks and excellent birth characters, he wouldn't have had the chance to be chosen to marry the Saint Lady. But who would have thought that he would be intercepted halfway? Long Yi determined that he couldn't ask anything, so he knocked out both of them with his palm. Then closing the lid of the box, he went out. He followed the wheel tracks and footprints in the snow to the entrance of the village. As he passed by a big tree, he heard a teasing voice above his head. "Big guy, are you going to the temple of the saintess?" He raised his head and looked at the little princess of the Eastern barbarians, sitting on the tree branch in confusion. The little princess of Dongyi jumped down and looked at him strangely. "I know the way to the temple of the Saint Lady." Long Yi looked at her and said, "Lead the way." The Dongyi princess was stunned. "You're not even going to ask if it's true? Also, why don't you ask me why I'm helping you?" "Lead the way," Long Yi repeated. The Dongyi princess curled her lips. "I won't." Long Yi left. The little princess of Dongyi stared at his back with her almond-shaped eyes and stammered, I already said that I won't lead the way." Then she followed him. The temple of the saintess was a shrine located on the Dongyi mountain of the Eastern barbarians. Of course, this was only for the Eastern barbarians. In the eyes of Xiaoji and Princess Xinyang, it was just an ordinary palace. It wasn't a particularly ingenious one. However, the atmosphere in the palace was very mysterious. There were only women here, no men. Everyone was expressionless. as if they didn't belong to the mortal world. In addition, there was incense burning everywhere in the palace. There was incense at the door, in the corridor, and even in the room. The first thing that came into view were two large incense burners. Achoo! Princess Xinyang's nose itched, and she sneezed. The woman in red frowned and looked at her. Xiaoji calmly said, "When can I see the saintess?" The woman in red's attention was successfully diverted. Her gaze moved away from Princess Xinyang's face and landed on Xiaoji's screen. According to the rules, you can only see the saintess on the wedding day in 3 days. If the saintess wants to see you, she will come over. It seemed that these people didn't recognize the young man's voice. Perhaps they hadn't seen his face. Forget it, he shouldn't show his face so easily. "Can I go in and rest?" he asked indifferently. "Yes," the woman in red said. Xiaoji led Princess Xinyang into the side room. He went in, but Princess Xinyang was stopped outside. "What do you want?" he asked in an icy voice. The woman in red didn't expect this young master's aura to be so strong. Her voice sank, and she almost couldn't bear it. Wasn't he a poor boy from the countryside? He was called the most handsome man in the Eastern barbarians, because of his appearance. In fact, he didn't have much ability. The saintess chose him because of his appearance and birth characters. Why did the person in front of her give her a different feeling from the rumors? But doubts were doubts, and it didn't rise to the point of suspecting that he was an imposter. After all, he was sent by the king of Dongyi. She bowed and said, "The rules of the saintess temple forbid men from staying in the temple. He will come with me to the outer hall." Xiaoji said majestically, "He is my attendant. I am used to him serving me. He must stay." As a first-rank martial marquis of the Zhao kingdom, no one could surpass him in terms of aura. He didn't need to threaten her. His casual tone was enough to make her feel oppressed. The woman in red felt her scalp go numb. She tried to calm down and said, "I will report to the saintess. If she objects, you will still have to leave." She was shocked by Xiaoji's aura. At least she could make him stay. The two entered the room. The woman in red sent 2 maids to guard the door. She went down to prepare for the wedding. At this juncture, it was not worthwhile to offend the saintess's husband. He was just a servant. Let him stay. Anyway, she had already explained the rules. If the saintess blamed her one day, it wouldn't be her disobedience. It would be the Langjun. The room was very large. It was separated from the outer and inner rooms. The two sat in the inner room. They spoke softly so that the people outside couldn't hear them. Xiaoji took off the curtains and bamboo hat and threw them on the table in disgust. The men were wrapped up like this, and the women were chattering. Princess Xinyang looked at his sullen appearance and couldn't help laughing. The saintess has a high status in the Dongyi tribe. Her marriage is the same as a man's marriage. Her husband also has to abide by the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. He can't casually show his face in public. Xiaoji looked at her with a faint smile. "Qin Fengwan, you seem to be very envious. Why? Do you want to imprison me and make me your exclusive property?" Princess Xinyang said angrily. "When did I say that?" Xiaoji raised his eyebrows. "You just didn't say it. That means you thought it. TSK, Qin Fengwan, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person." Princess Xinyang was so angry that her face darkened again. At night, the woman in red personally delivered the wedding clothes for the Langjun to try on. "You guys go out. He'll help me change," Xiaoji said to the people holding the clothes and hair accessories through the curtain. The woman in red ordered the servants to put the clothes on the table in the outer room. Then she left as instructed. The door was open. They couldn't leave until they knew the results of the fitting. Princess Xinyang carried the clothes into the inner room and whispered, "Do you really want to try it on?" Xiaoji whispered, "They won't leave if I don't let them see." This was their duty. They had to ensure that every detail of the wedding was perfect. If the Longjuan's wedding clothes didn't fit, they would be blamed. Princess Xinyang understood this and didn't say anything else. She hesitated for a moment before asking him, "You?" Xiaoji smiled and looked at her. "Of course I can't change. Can you do me a favor?" Princess Xinyang thought that it was inconvenient for him to be seriously injured, so she silently walked over and helped him untie his belt. The wounds on his body were wrapped tightly with strips of cloth, and there was a slight trace of blood. His taut muscles were well defined, and he constantly emitted a sense of strength from battle. Princess Xinyang's eyelashes trembled. She looked away and turned around to take the wedding clothes. There were 3 layers in total: underwear, and wedding gown. He opened his arms to make it easier for her to dress him. She was so close to him that she could clearly feel his unique masculine aura. It was somewhat captivating. She wrapped her hands around his back and tied his belt for him. This action made it seem like she was hugging him. Her cheek inadvertently rubbed against his firm and broad chest. He suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. She was slightly startled and hurriedly retreated. She looked up at him in panic. "Did I hurt you? Did I touch your wound?" He took a deep breath and raised his well-defined hand to cup her cheek. His thumb lightly pressed against her soft lips. His eyes gradually darkened, and his voice became hoarse. "Qin Fengwan, do you want me to take you here?" She stared blankly at this incomparably handsome face, and felt his seductive aura. Her head heated up as she asked, "Then do you want me?" Digression. Friends with monthly votes, remember to vote. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/10424736. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 983. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The moment Princess Xinyang said that, the room fell silent for a full 3 seconds. Xiaoji was quiet because he never expected Qin Fengwan to say something like that. Qin Fengwan was a snow-white rabbit that would run away with a poke. He was used to teasing Qin Fengwan, and this was the first time he saw her not playing by the rules. While his blood rushed to his head, he was also a bit confused. Princess Xinyang was quiet because she also didn't expect herself to say something like that. She regretted it right after saying it. What's going on? Am I possessed? Or is it because I've been with this guy for so long that I've become stained by his company? She finally knew how to be embarrassed. Seeing that she was embarrassed, Xiaoji felt better. Otherwise, words spoken were like spilled water. If they didn't fight for 300 rounds tonight, it wouldn't end well. But if that really happened, wouldn't she be scared out of her wits? Not to mention that he might not even be able to see the sun tomorrow? You'll give it to me just because I want it. Qin Fengwan, when did you become so obedient? He couldn't take her body, but he had to take advantage of her with his mouth. Without waiting for Princess Xinyang to speak, he continued, "But how can there be such a cheap thing in this world? Do I have to give it to you just because you want it? I won't. You can't give it to me, right? You're already injured like this. Which part of your body can still move?" Princess Xinyang knew that he was taking advantage of her thin skin to take advantage of her again and again. She should just push him down and tell him to stop talking nonsense. If he's a man, he should be serious. But on second thought, she really couldn't do such a thing. She was angry at herself and at him. Her face darkened, and she glared at him before suddenly tightening her belt. Xiaoji was caught off guard and sucked in a cold breath. This time it really hurt. Outside, the woman in red who hadn't seen Xiaoji for a long time spoke up. "Langjun, is there a problem with your clothes? Do you want us to come in and serve you?" Langjun. Hearing this, Princess Xinyang's face darkened even more. Xiaoji looked at her playfully and said smugly, "Qin Fengwan, you're jealous of this too? In the Dongyi tribe, Langjun is just a title for a married man. It doesn't have any ambiguous meaning." "Langjun, I'm coming in," the woman in red said. Princess Xinyang quickly adjusted her expression, and silently retreated to the side. Xiao Ji put on her veil and turned around, blocking her from view. She hooked her finger under the cover of her wide sleeves. Princess Xinyang's fingertips went numb, as if electricity had passed through them. She quickly hid her fingers behind her back. Under the veil, Xiao Ji's lips curled. When the woman in red entered the room, she couldn't help but frown. She felt a very strange aura, but she couldn't tell what it was. She just felt that she was a little extra. She shook her head and cleared her thoughts before inspecting Xiao Ji's wedding robe. The Holy Virgin's husband's wedding robe was also red, but the material and style were slightly different. It wasn't made of high-quality brocade but red silk and shark's gauze. This was more of a test of a man's figure. If he wasn't careful, he would appear short and fat. Xiao Ji didn't have any concerns in this regard. He was tall and muscular, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, and his legs were long and slender. His figure would look good even if he wore a sack. The woman in red was also quite stunning. If it weren't for the rules, she would have taken off her Longjuan's veil and seen his appearance. How much longer do you want to look? Xiao Ji asked impatiently. The woman in red suddenly came back to her senses and lowered her head in embarrassment. The embroiderer made a mistake in Longjuan's measurements and made it 2 inches too big. I didn't expect it to fit just now. I'll take off Longjuan's wedding robe for him. Xiao Ji said rudely. Does your Holy Virgin know that you're touching my body? The woman in red choked. It's our duty to serve you, but after hearing what you said, she suddenly didn't dare to do it. Xiao Ji said indifferently, Go out. My people will bring you the wedding robe in a while. The woman in red answered and turned to leave. She muttered inwardly. Her Langjun was of low birth, so she didn't take him seriously. However, his aura was too strong. After taking back the wedding robe, she carried it to the Holy Virgin's inner hall. The Holy Virgin meditated and prayed for Dongyi every day, and today was no exception. The woman in red didn't dare to disturb her, and waited for 2 hours until the Holy Virgin came out of the prayer hall. The pure Holy Virgin was dressed in white and had a slender waist. She wore a white veil on her face, revealing only a pair of arrogant and cold eyes. The woman in red bowed to her. Holy Virgin. The Holy Virgin glanced at her and asked, Hongwan, why are you waiting for me here? Hongwan said, Langjun has tried on the wedding robe. The size is suitable. That's good. The Holy Virgin's mood didn't change much. The Holy Virgin's wedding was part of her duty. She had to give birth to a suitable successor for the Holy Virgin. Seeing that Hongwan didn't move, she couldn't help but ask, Why aren't you leaving? That. Hongwan thought for a moment and said truthfully, Holy Virgin, I know this marriage isn't what you want. If you don't get married in time, you may become the king's woman. However, you may have chosen the right marriage this time. Langjun is very good. Is that so? The Holy Virgin expressionlessly came to her dressing table and glanced at the phoenix coronet and robe placed on the stool. Hongwan came to her side and said, Holy Virgin, you will like Langjun. You rarely praise men, the Holy Virgin said. Hongwan honestly said, because Langjun is worthy of this praise. The Holy Virgin turned around and glanced at her. I'm curious about what he looks like to make you praise him like this. Fine, bring him to see me. Yes. Less than half an hour later, Hongwan appeared at the door of Xiao Ji's room. Xiao Ji had bolted the door, so she couldn't enter. She reported outside the door. Princess Xinyang frowned and whispered, It's so late. Why did the Holy Virgin summon you? Could she have discovered something? Xiao Ji thought about it carefully. He did not think that there was anything wrong with him. If there was something wrong with him, it would be that he was covered in wounds and had the smell of gold medicine and blood. However, the Holy Virgin's hall was filled with incense, and the rich fragrance had long covered his smell. Xiao Ji said indifferently, It's nothing. I'll go meet her first and find the antidote for Xiaoming. Xiaoming's poison came from the Holy Virgin's hall. Be careful, Princess Xinyang warned. Seeing her worried look, Xiao Ji inexplicably wanted to tease her. Qin Fengwan, are you worried about my safety or are you worried that I'll stay overnight in another woman's room? Princess Xinyang didn't say anything. Xiao Ji raised his eyebrows and stood up with his hands on the table. Ah, that's true. You don't care anyway. He pretended to walk out the door, shaking his head and sighing as he walked. Princess Xinyang knew he was doing it on purpose, but she still couldn't help but reach out and grab his sleeve. Xiao Ji tilted his head and looked at her in confusion. Her eyes moved, but she didn't look at him. Instead, she stared at the clean floor in front of her and whispered, "You're not allowed to stay overnight in another woman's room." Xiao Ji asked her, "Are you not allowed to do it tonight or in the future?" Princess Xinyang cleared her throat and said without a change in her expression, "In the future, in the future." Xiao Ji narrowed his eyes. This request was too much. She was the one who said she didn't care about him. Now, she was the one who wanted to control him. She had slapped herself in the face. Even she felt embarrassed. Princess Xinyang thought he would take the opportunity to say, "Give me a reason," or "Qin Fengwan, what makes you think you have the right to do this?" But she guessed wrong. He turned around, raised his well-defined hand, and gently pinched her chin. Then he leaned down and fiercely kissed her lips under her confused gaze. The unexpected kiss stunned her. Her long eyelashes fluttered innocently, and her heartbeat sped up. Her breathing quickened as she felt his domineering demand. When he let go, her head was dizzy, and her entire face was red. He stared at her with a sober expression. "Qin Fengwan, there's a price to pay for monopolizing me. I might do something even worse to you. It's not just words, do you understand?" Princess Xinyang was stunned. Xiao Ji didn't immediately force her to give him an answer. They hadn't really done it willingly. She had been drugged for 2 nights, and she had given herself to him under those circumstances. She hadn't done it willingly. She hated him and pushed him away time and time again. He could restrain himself from doing anything overboard to her. But she had started to accept him and get close to him. He wasn't a saint. Could it be that he could really control himself and stop himself from dabbling in it every single time? Or did she have to take the drug every time? Xiao Ji went to see the Holy Maiden. Princess Xinyang sat in her room, deep in thought. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all the novels that can't be found online here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1042329998. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. Chapter 984. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. This haul was full of twists and turns, giving people a headache. Coupled with the strong smell of incense, Xiao Ji frowned. However, he still secretly memorized the route he had taken. He didn't like to study when he was young. First, his father forced him too hard, so he had a rebellious mentality. Second, his eyes and head hurt when he saw those densely packed words. Then he plunged into the military camp and never went to study again. He wasn't stupid. As long as he didn't study, he basically had a photographic memory and could remember most of the things he heard. This gave him a great advantage on the battlefield. But no matter how many battles he won, it couldn't change the fact that he was a rough person. Qin Fengwan was a princess who was proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and had both talent and beauty. At that time, he selfishly felt that he couldn't match up to her because he didn't know many words. Now he knew a lot of words, directly or indirectly influenced by Qin Fengwan. "Young master, do you have something on your mind?" Hongwan noticed that his mind was wandering, and seemed to be absent-minded about meeting the saint. Xiao Ji's consciousness came back quickly as if he wasn't thinking about anything else. He said sarcastically, "Does your saint know that you care about me so much in private?" Hongwan choked and didn't dare to say anything. There was clearly no meaning to it, So why did it change when it came to Longjuan's mouth? She quieted down and Xiao Ji went back to thinking about what happened just now. But once some emotions were broken, it was difficult to pick them up again. He frowned in annoyance. The two of them came to the saint's inner hall. There were 4 maids guarding the door, and each of them knew martial arts. In addition, there were many masters hidden in the dark. It seemed that although there were no men in the saint's hall, the defense was not lax. Saint Langjun is here, Hong Wan reported from outside the hall. Come in, the saint said. Her voice sounded quite young. She had the aura of a superior, and also a detached loftiness. Xiao Ji secretly gave her a first impression. As long as the saint had never seen him in person, everything would be easy. It was impossible to say that his face looked like he was in his early 20s, but it was also impossible to say that there were traces of age on his face. The main thing was that his eyes and expression had the restraint and calmness of his age. He had to put on a little act, and then lie that he was exhausted. Under the dim light of the oil lamp, he should be able to get away with it. However, the Holy Maiden had actually seen Xiao Ji in person. It's you. After the Holy Maiden removed Xiao Ji's veil, she stared at his handsome face and was shocked. Xiao Ji was dumbfounded. I can't be that unlucky, right? She recognized him just like that? The saintess turned around and pulled out a long sword from the shelf. She placed the gleaming blade on Xiao Ji's neck. Xiao Ji looked at the sharp blade out of the corner of his eye, then looked at the veiled saintess and asked, Do we know each other? The saintess was also wearing a veil. She did not take off her veil, but said coldly, You don't know me, but I know you. When you were fighting with the Dongyi army, I analyzed your strategy on the chariot. Xiao Ji suddenly realized, you are the military advisor behind the Dongyi king. The Dongyi king did not have many soldiers, but he could repeatedly defeat the soldiers at the border. The main reason was that he had a very powerful military advisor. He did not expect that the military advisor would be the saintess of the Saint Lady Temple. The saintess said angrily, All the warriors of the Dongyi tribe have been killed by you, Marquis Xianping, Xiao Ji. I was worried that I would not be able to find you, but you came to me on your own accord. She was very angry, but Marquis Xianping did not feel any substantial murderous intent from her. She did not want to kill him. Why? Xiao Ji's judgment of the enemy was very accurate. On the battlefield, any wrong judgment could lead to a large number of casualties. Of course, this ability was not without mistakes. He had paid a huge price for it. Xiao Ji looked at her deeply and sat down on the chair. She frowned and did not cut him with her sword. Instead, she continued to hold the sword against his neck. Xiao Ji confirmed his guess. She really did not want to kill him. This was not a good sign. He and she were mortal enemies. Even so, she still did not want to kill him. Was she going to capture him and take him to the Dongyi king? Wouldn't it be better to take his head? Things were not good. What did you do to that person? The saintess asked. Xiao Ji said casually, Nothing. He is alive. I will send him back to you later. Come. The saintess suddenly ordered. 2 black shadows flashed out from behind the screen. Both of them were women, but they were very skilled. The 2 of them saluted. Saintess. The saintess said mercilessly, Kill him. Yes. The 2 of them answered and left. Xiao Ji was stunned for 3 seconds. The person the saintess wanted to kill was the young man he had robbed? Things are not going in the right direction. Xiao Ji had an ominous feeling in his heart. The saintess flicked her sword and cut open his clothes, revealing the gauze wrapped around his body. She raised her eyebrows slightly. I see. I was wondering how you could be safe after falling into my trap. You sneaked into the saintess temple for your brother's antidote and your 2 bastard sons, right? I have to disappoint you. The antidote is in my hands, but your sons are in the dungeon of the Dongyi king. But as long as you listen to me, I can return your sons to you. Xiao Ji looked at her indifferently. Listen to what? The saintess sheathed her sword and neatly put it back into the scabbard. Marry me and be my husband. Xiao Ji didn't know what to say. Xiao Ji looked at her and pointed to his head. Is there something wrong with your head? I killed so many Dongyi people, and you still want to marry me? Aren't you afraid of betraying Dongyi? The saintess raised her chin and said, "If you surrender to me, you will be a warrior of Dongyi in the future. You will kill more soldiers of the Zhao kingdom for Dongyi to atone for your crimes." This was the funniest joke Xiao Ji had ever heard. He sneered. "What if I don't agree? Are you going to kill me, or are you going to kill my brother and son?" The saintess looked at him calmly. "No, I will kill the servant who came with you." Xiao Ji's smile froze on his face. He lowered his eyes and smiled. He looked at her coldly and said, "This kind of thing has to be consensual, right? I don't want to marry you. Even if I marry you, I will still abandon you." The saintess smiled. "No, you won't." Xiao Ji narrowed his eyes. The next second, he saw the saintess turn around and press a switch on the wall. The bookshelf on one side moved to the other side, revealing a dark secret room. Xiao Ji couldn't use much strength at the moment, so he couldn't sneak up on her. The saintess didn't put her guard up against him because she knew about his condition. She entered the secret room and came out with a white pill on her fingertips. She took the pill to Xiao Ji and slowly bent down. She lifted Xiao Ji's chin with her white fingertips. "Eat this, and you will be loyal to me." Xiao Ji looked at the white pill, and an idea flashed through his mind. Could this be the knockout drug that Grand Concubine Jing had fed the emperor? The holy maiden took in his expression. "Oh, it seems that you know him?" This was originally a secret medicine of Dongyi. Later, it was taken to Shangyi by a trader. It said that some pharmacists in the Yan kingdom also made this medicine, but the effect of those pills isn't as strong as the one in the Saintess temple. It's stronger than the one the emperor took. What kind of strong drug is this? Xiao Ji's mouth twitched. "What if I don't take it?" The saintess said coldly. "It's not up to you." Xiao Ji vaguely remembered that after taking this drug, he would have a good impression of whoever he saw. At that time, he would close his eyes and refuse to open them. His mind was full of Qin Fengwan. If she had the ability, she would cut off his eyelids. As soon as he swallowed the pill, its effects were indeed strong. In just a few breaths of time, he felt drowsy. "I can't open my eyes. I can't open my eyes." He tried hard to recall Qin Fengwan's face in his mind, trying to squeeze the image of the saintess out of his mind. Bang! Something seemed to have fallen. His consciousness began to blur, and the faces of the saintess and Qin Fengwan flashed back and forth in his mind. After all, the last person he saw today was the saintess. It was really not easy to completely remove her from his mind. Fortunately, he had willpower that ordinary people could not imagine. After spending a lot of effort, Qin Fengwan's face finally covered the saintess' face little by little. At this moment, he vaguely felt that he heard a familiar voice. "Hey, big guy. What's wrong with him?" Then in the next second, his eyelids were opened by Long Yi's hand. Long Yi's pair of index fingers and thumbs held his eyes wide open. Long Yi also opened his eyes wide and looked at him without blinking. "Hello." Marquis Xianping's last trace of spirit power was used up. Before fainting, he looked at Long Mingming's face and gritted his teeth. F***CK. Digression. Long Mingming bowed and begged for monthly votes. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1042277765. HTML. This genius will remember the address of this website in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion mobile reading website. Chapter 985. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The saintess had calculated everything, but unexpectedly, Long Yi had appeared out of nowhere and made a ready-made wedding dress for her. Since this medicine originated from the Eastern barbarians, The Eastern barbarian's medicine was naturally more effective. After Xiaoji fainted, he began to dream. In his dream, it was his last fleeting glimpse. Handsome Long Yi, cute Long Yi, super fierce Long Yi, in short, Long Yi was everywhere. This was the effect of the medicine, and no one could resist it. When he woke up, Long Yi's image was deeply implanted in his mind and couldn't be erased. "You're awake?" Princess Xinyang's voice sounded beside him. He opened his eyes and found that he was still in the Saintess inner hall. He was lying on a small bamboo bed covered with tiger skin, and covered with a thick layer of skin. There was a charcoal fire in the hall, so it wasn't cold. He looked at Qin Fengwan and then looked around. He swore that his gaze had only inadvertently swept across the Saintess bed. Princess Xinyang chuckled. "You still want to sleep in that woman's bed?" Xiaoji, who was inexplicably scolded. "What's this situation? Where's Long Yi?" he asked subconsciously. After asking, he realized that something was wrong. How could he ask Long Yi first? If he wanted to ask, he should ask Qin Fengwan why she was here. Although the answer was definitely Long Yi, Princess Xinyang didn't notice anything wrong for the time being. She just thought that he had seen Long Yi before he fainted, and when he woke up and found that Long Yi wasn't there, he should ask. She said, "Long Yi and Zhen went to find the antidote for Xiaoming. I heard from Zhen that it was very dangerous just now. The Saintess seemed to want to harm you. Fortunately, they arrived in time." Xiaoji wanted to ask why Long Yi didn't wait for him, but he held back. What the hell was going on? If he continued to ask, how would Qin Fengwan see him? He suppressed his concern for Long Yi and asked her, "Long Yi, did you come here?" Fine, every sentence about Long Yi. Princess Xinyang was still as innocent as ever. "Yes, I didn't alarm anyone. They thought the saint had asked you to stay the night, so they didn't dare to ask." Saintess was knocked unconscious by Long Yi, and is still unconscious in the secret room. She explained very carefully, probably because she saw that he was injured, and wanted to save him some energy to ask questions. Thinking of something, Princess Xinyang took out a bottle of medicine from her wide sleeve and said to him, "By the way, this is the medicine that Zhen found in the Saint Lady Temple. Try it." She knows about this? Xiaoji had never heard Zhen mention this before. Princess Xinyang had chatted with Zhen for a while. She said, her mother was originally a member of the Saint Lady Temple and served the previous Saint Lady. The Saint Lady Temple was proficient in medicine. Zhen was influenced by her mother since she was young, and learned a little from her. What a pity. Xiaoji sighed. She lost her mother at a young age and lived under someone else's roof for a few years before being sold off by her aunt. This child was truly pitiful. The medicine was to be taken orally. Princess Xinyang poured some water and had him drink it. He thought about it and decided to tell Princess Xinyang about him being drugged to avoid any misunderstandings. "I have something to tell you." "Speak." "I miss Long Yi. F***K. Xiaoji hated that he couldn't strangle the Saintess. What kind of medicine did she feed him? Princess Xinyang looked at him in shock. "No." He pinched the space between his eyebrows and was about to explain when Long Yi returned with the dongy little princess. Without saying anything, he lifted the quilt and walked over to Long Yi. Meng Meng. He wanted to cut himself with a knife. Long Yi, who was inexplicably called by his nickname. Dongy little princess, who was inexplicably called by her nickname. As well as Princess Xinyang, who didn't understand what was wrong with her husband. Xiaoji had spent a tremendous amount of effort to push the Saintess out of his mind, but Long Yi had taken advantage of him. Now he had no choice but to spend another tremendous amount of effort to explain how he had been drugged. Of course, he didn't have to think about Qin Fengwan. He only said that Long Yi had appeared when he had just taken the medicine. Dongy little princess suddenly understood. "Oh, so you fainted because of this. You're finished. You've been drugged by our Dongy's most powerful medicine. You're dead meat." Princess Xinyang's face paled. "Isn't there an antidote for this medicine?" She remembered that there was some white medicine and black medicine. Dongy little princess shook her head. "There is no antidote. You must have remembered wrongly. Although there are disgusting medicines with opposite effects, if used as an antidote, they can cause confusion. In serious cases, They can even turn people into fools. Princess Xinyang thought of the emperor. He had been drugged by 2 different kinds of medicine at the hands of concubine Jing. It was really difficult for him not to become a complete fool. Dongyi little princess continued. Moreover, the effect of our medicine is much stronger. I advise you not to do this. Princess Xinyang frowned. Is there no other way? Thinking of her husband sticking to Longyi day and night from now on, she couldn't tolerate it. We can only wait for the medicine's effect to wear off. Dongyi little princess put her elbows on the table and supported her little cheeks with her hands. Princess Xinyang hurriedly asked, how long will the medicine's effect last? Dongyi little princess thought seriously. It varies from person to person. Marquis only ate 1, right? At least 10 days to half a month, at most a month. Princess Xinyang murmured, so long, Dongyi little princess said. If we don't let Marquis see Longyi, the medicine's effect will weaken and disappear faster. So it's like this. Princess Xinyang made up her mind to keep an eye on Xiaoji from now on. Who would have thought that when she turned her head, Xiaoji was no longer in the room? Her heart skipped a beat, and she hurriedly got up and went to the backyard. In the empty courtyard, 2 big men were squatting on the ground and digging snow. The scene was intimate and harmonious. Longyi made an ugly snowman, and Xiaoji praised with stars in his eyes. Mengmeng is awesome. Princess Xinyang suddenly felt green above her head. Quickly let them separate. Otherwise, Marquis's condition will worsen. Dongyi little princess sincerely suggested. The effect of this medicine would gradually become stronger as the contact deepened. And one day, it would reach its peak and then slowly fade away. From the performance of Xiaoji just now, he was indeed becoming more and more clingy to Longyi. Did you find your father's medicine? Princess Xinyang suddenly asked Dongyi little princess. Dongyi little princess was dumbfounded. She didn't know whether it was because of the words your father, or because she was surprised to hear this topic. She lowered her eyes and said, oh, I found it. Then there was nothing else to arrange for Longyi. Princess Xinyang asked, is there another room in the Holy Maiden Hall? Dongyi little princess said, there is. Does princess want me to take Longyi there? Princess Xinyang answered. Then what about you? Dongyi little princess asked. Princess Xinyang looked at Xiaoji who was clingy to Longyi and took a deep breath. I will stay here to look after Marquis. You live next door to Longyi and help me look after Longyi. Longyi was definitely not a problem, so she didn't know why she was worrying about him. Dongyi little princess wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, she didn't say anything and took Longyi to find a room to stay. Xiaoji wanted to chase after them, but was stopped by Princess Xinyang. Cold wind blew and the snow on Xiaoji's palm melted. He was so cold that he shivered and became clear-headed. He looked at the ugly snowman on the ground with a complicated expression and asked, just now, I didn't do anything strange, right? Princess Xinyang. Because she knew it was the effect of the medicine, Princess Xinyang didn't really get angry with him and took him back to the inner hall. During this time, the red-robed woman came and asked Holy Maiden if she needed anything. Xiaoji said to her from the other side of the door, no need, everyone is dismissed tonight. I will wait upon Holy Maiden and help her rest. Princess Xinyang put on Holy Maiden's clothes and combed Holy Maiden's hair, casting a shadow on the window paper. The red-robed woman didn't suspect anything and respectfully dismissed the guards. As for the hidden experts, Longyi had already quietly dealt with them. When Longyi wasn't around, Xiaoji was still relatively clear-headed. Late at night, it was time to go to bed. Princess Xinyang changed the soft blanket on the bed and lay down together with him. Just now I really didn't do anything, right? He asked. No. Princess Xinyang said without changing her expression. At this crucial moment, it was best not to mention Longyi's name. Did you get the antidote for Xiaoming? He asked again. Got it. Princess Xinyang said. Xiaoji felt relieved. That's good. Xiaoming has been poisoned for too long. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid his life will be in danger. He said and paused. Then, we only have to save Xiao En and Xiao Zhe. What do you plan to do? Princess Xinyang asked. Xiaoji analyzed. We can directly kill our way into the King of Dongyi's dungeon and save them. This method is too risky. Longyi alone won't have enough manpower. Even if I go with serious injuries, I won't be able to help. It was rare for Princess Xingyang to not choke. Now you know your limits. How could you be so confident when you were talking nonsense to me? Xiao Ji continued. Or we can use the Holy Maiden to exchange for Xiao En and Xiao Zhe. But this is also risky. If the King of Dongyi refuses to exchange, the army will break through and we will all die here. With Long Yi's martial arts, he could definitely break through, but it would be difficult to bring others with him. Princess Xingyang frowned. This won't work. That won't work. There's a third method. Xiao Ji paused again, this time for a long time. The wedding will continue. The King of Dongyi will come to attend the Holy Maiden's wedding. Long Yi will take this opportunity to kidnap the King of Dongyi. Princess Xingyang's mood was really agitated. She leaned over, straightened her body with her fingers, and looked at him. You really want to marry the Holy Maiden? Thinking of the scene of him going through the wedding ceremony with another woman, she felt uncomfortable all over. And she won't cooperate, she said angrily. Xiao Ji said, yes, what you said is not without reason. She won't cooperate obediently, unless I give her the same drug, so that she will. In your dreams. Princess Xingyang looked at him coldly and rejected this suggestion. Xiao Ji sighed helplessly. But other than the wedding, there's no better way to lure the King of Dongyi here. Princess Xingyang turned her back. She slept outside. First, it was convenient for her to take care of Xiao Ji at night. Second, it was to prevent Xiao Ji from looking for Long Yi in the middle of the night. She faced the table in the inner hall, and on the table was the Holy Maiden's wedding dress. For some reason, she thought of the wedding many years ago, which she had been unwilling to do. She had also put on the wedding dress, but with the mission of watching him and being ready to kill him at any time. She still remembered that when she got off the sedan chair, the red silk was a step too late, and he offered his hand to her. She didn't take it, and waited until the servants brought the red silk. Afterwards, Yujin told her that her etiquette during the wedding ceremony was very lacking, and Xiao Ji was very sincere. He bowed more than she did every time. The guests laughed that he would not be able to control his wife in the future. The young Xiao Ji only laughed, not angry. But that pure and beautiful young man was killed by her on their wedding night. She lowered her eyes and said in a low voice, all right then. You can marry the Holy Maiden. After she wakes up, I will give her the drug and make her listen to me. She will marry you smoothly. Xiao Ji frowned. Wait, this was not what he had expected. Shouldn't you be jealous of me marrying another woman, so you want to do it yourself? Xiao Ji was unhappy. He endured the pain all over his body and sat up. Princess Xingyang turned around and looked at him vigilantly. What are you doing? Xiao Ji said indifferently, I'm going to find Long Yi. Is the drug taking effect again? Princess Xingyang frowned and said coldly, you're not allowed to go. Lie down. Xiao Ji curled his lips and lay down sullenly. Princess Xingyang was still not at ease, so she found a silk ribbon and tied it around their wrists. This time he couldn't go find Long Yi. Xiao Ji chuckled. Qin Fengwan, although I'm injured, I can still untie a mere silk ribbon. Princess Xingyang thought for a moment, then tied his other hand to the head of the bed. Xiao Ji looked up at the sky. Long Yi. Princess Xingyang couldn't bear it anymore and said, shut up. I can't. My head is full of Long Yi. Xiao Ji threw the blame to her. It's the drug's effect. Princess Xingyang clenched her fists so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. Xiao Ji continued to ask for a beating. If you don't want me to talk about Long Yi, that's fine. Distract me. How? Princess Xingyang asked. Xiao Ji said very shamelessly, you kiss me. Digression. It's the end of the month, it's time to clear the tickets. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg com/89642_896422826/1042135529. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 986. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. Why are they kissing again? Xiaoji said. It might not work, I'm just trying. Princess Xinyang frowned and said, What is your head full of? Xiaoji said, How about I go find Long Yi? What was going on? How could she allow her husband to go find another man in the middle of the night? You really? She found it hard to say the following words. Xiaoji was very clear about what she wanted to ask. He looked at her with a face full of sincerity and nodded. More real than gold. If you don't distract me, my head will be full of Long Yi. Princess Xinyang held her forehead. After a bitter struggle in her heart, she gathered her courage, leaned over and quickly kissed him on the cheek. Taking the initiative to do this kind of thing while he was sober was really too embarrassing. Is it useful? She asked with a slightly red face. Fortunately, there was the cover of the night. Otherwise, if someone saw her like this, she would be even more embarrassed. Xiaoji carefully thought about it and said, It doesn't seem to be very useful. Princess Xinyang said angrily, The method you mentioned won't work. Xiaoji innocently said, How can that be effective? Princess Xinyang's eyelashes trembled. What do you mean? Xiaoji shamelessly said, You have to follow the standard that this marquis showed you last time. Or you can improvise on the spot, and add a little more. Princess Xinyang simply sucked in a mouthful of cold air. According to his standard, if she moved her lips and stuck out her tongue, then what would it be like if she did it a bit more? She had never been so impetuous in her life. Wait a minute, or was it that during those 2 nights when she ate the wrong medicine, she was this impetuous? Thinking of this possibility, her whole body felt unwell. Her cheeks were as red as fire, almost dripping blood. Longi Longi. Xiaoji began to call her soul again. Princess Xinyang gritted her teeth, closed her eyes, slightly tilted her head, and affectionately leaned towards him. Her lips trembled slightly. It was obvious that she was really nervous. She struggled for a long time before she moved her lips very slightly. Xiaoji held his breath. Princess Xinyang was so nervous and shy that she didn't realize that the person beneath her had been set on fire by this insignificant action. Blushing, she released him and asked, How about this? Xiaoji calmed down and said calmly, It seems to have some effect. Continue. Princess Xinyang held back her shyness and kissed him again. She was emotional, inexperienced, and had no skills to speak of. In the end, Xiaoji could not stand the torment of not being able to scratch an itch. He raised his hand to break free from the rope, gently clasped the back of her head, and kissed her deeply. Are you done? Her fingertips caressed her bright red lips as she asked while panting. He said hoarsely, It's not enough, Qin Fengwan. Who knew how many kisses he had asked for that night? She lay down beside him and fell into a deep sleep. Worried that she would press on his wound, she didn't lie in his arms. Instead, she turned sideways to face him. Her black, satin-like hair spread out on the pillow and intertwined with his hair. In the darkness, he looked at her sleeping face. Enduring the pain, he leaned over. This time, he didn't kiss her lips. Instead, he planted a light kiss between her eyebrows. The next day, the saintess in the secret room woke up. Long Yi and the Dongyi little princess also came over. Long Yi hit her mute acupoint, making her unable to speak. The Dongyi little princess found the knockout medicine in the secret room and gave it to Princess Xinyang. To prevent Xiaoji from seeing Long Yi and triggering an even stronger effect, Princess Xinyang left Xiaoji alone on the bed with the curtains tightly covering her. She especially looked like a forbidden item that couldn't be exposed to light. Princess Xinyang said to the Dongyi little princess and Long Yi, You two go out first. I have something to say to her alone. The two went out. Princess Xinyang closed the door of the secret room and walked in front of the saintess with the pill and the candlestick. The saintess sat on the ground with her hands tied behind her back. She could only coldly stare at Princess Xinyang. Princess Xinyang said indifferently, "Don't look at me like that. I won't let anyone unseal your mute acupoint. I'll make a deal with you. If you agree, blink once. If you don't, blink twice." After a quarter of an hour, Princess Xinyang came out of the secret room and said to Long Yi, "You can let her go." Long Yi went in and untied her. The dongy little princess asked Princess Xinyang, "Did she eat it?" Princess Xinyang said she ate it. She shouldn't be disloyal to me anymore. The dongy little princess kindly reminded, "You still have to be careful. The effect of this medicine varies from person to person. The difference is very big." Princess Xinyang lightly nodded. "I know. There are still 2 days before the wedding. There will be more people coming and going. You and Long Yi had better not show yourself in front of people." Thinking of something, she added, "Or let Long Yi send you away first. When we kidnap the Dongy King, we might not be able to take care of you." The dongy little princess said, "I know martial arts. I can protect myself." She insisted on staying, but this place was too far away from the Zhao country's military camp. It was too late to send her back. She was also worried about leaving her on the road, so Princess Xinyang didn't mention sending her away again. Princess Xinyang and Xiaoji returned to their original room. Long Yi and the dongy little princess hid in the shadows of the saintess, closely monitoring her every move and observing the changes in the effect of the medicine. In case the medicine's effect was gone, they would use force. But the effect of the knockout drug seemed to be good. The saintess obeyed Princess Xinyang and didn't make any trouble. In the blink of an eye, the day of the wedding arrived. Xiaoji woke up early and found that Qin Fengwan wasn't there. He asked the maid at the door and learned that she had been called over by the saintess. The saintess didn't call her. She was probably worried that something would happen to the saintess, so she went to keep an eye on her. He didn't think twice and regretfully looked at the wedding clothes on the table. He put them on himself. Although it was a fake wedding, he didn't want Qin Fengwan to be unhappy, so he tried to be perfunctory in his etiquette. After dressing up, he went to the saintess's bedroom to wait for her. Not long after, the saintess, who was wearing a phoenix coronet and a red robe, walked out of the inner hall under the escort of Hong Wan and the other maids. Hong Wan held a piece of red silk in her hand. She handed one end to the saintess and the other end to Xiaoji. Xiaoji looked around but didn't see Qin Fengwan. He guessed that she should be waiting in the secret room. Hong Wan led the way. Xiaoji had never seen the Dongy people get married, but it was said that the wedding customs were different. But when they arrived at the wedding hall, he was surprised to find that the rumors were wrong. Braziers, saddles and tiles. Weren't these the wedding customs of the Zhao country? He walked forward impatiently, not wanting to wait for the bride. The bride almost fell from his tug. The bride glared at him through the veil, lifted her heavy skirt, and jumped over from the saddle. Then she stepped over the brazier without any mishap. Next, it was time to step on the tiles. The bride raised her leg high up in the air and fiercely stomped down. Her imposing manner of lifting 1,000 caddies startled Hong Wan. "It's just stepping on a tile. You don't have to use so much strength." The tile shattered completely. Under the veil, the bride breathed a sigh of relief. She seemed to be very satisfied with her strength. Xiaoji frowned. The newlyweds entered the main hall, which was hung with red silk. The king of Dongyi and the other nobles had already taken their seats in the hall. Xiaoji frowned again. Was the old guy already here? Where did Longyi go? Why hasn't he started? First bow to heaven and earth. The MC of the saintess's hall began to chant. Xiaoji and the bride turned around, faced the heaven and earth outside the door, and bowed. Xiaoji was only halfway through his bow. He glanced at the saintess and found that she was very sincere. Second bow to the holy ancestor. The saintess was the incarnation of the priesthood. She had long severed her relationship with her parents. Naturally, there was no ceremony at the wedding. Instead, they bowed to the statue of the ancestor of the saintess temple. Xiaoji and the bride faced the statue again. This time, Xiaoji bowed even more perfunctorily. He almost bowed slightly. His actions caused a lot of dissatisfaction among the guests, but it was not good to show it in public. The last round of bowing to each other. Xiaoji refused, but he clearly saw the other party bowing deeply with all her sincerity and trust. It was as if she wanted to entrust the rest of her life to him. His eyes moved, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. The ceremony is complete. As the MC of the Saintess Temple finished speaking, a strong figure descended from the sky. With the momentum of a dragon's roar and a tsunami, he suddenly appeared in front of the king of Dongyi. His movements were too fierce and fast. Everyone only saw an afterimage. By the time they reacted and wanted to protect the king of Dongyi, Long Yi had already grabbed the king of Dongyi by the neck. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1042087446. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion mobile version reading website. Chapter 987. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The moment Long Yi kidnapped the king of Dongyi, Xiaoji also quickly grabbed the bride in front of him. With a shake of his arm, the dagger in his sleeve slid into his palm. He pressed the dagger against the bride's throat and came to Long Yi's side. Back to back, he and Long Yi were vigilant against each other. The guests at the scene were panicking. They didn't understand how an assassin could sneak into a wedding. The groom was personally chosen by the Saintess and was escorted by the king of Dongyi's personal guards. Who would have thought that he was a traitor? Protect the king. A king of Dongyi pulled out his sword and shouted. Long Yi kicked him back into the chair. Xiaoji sneered. King of Dongyi, it seems that you have been on the throne for too long. Some people can't wait anymore and want to take the opportunity to kill you. The king of Dongyi was 60 years old this year and had inherited the throne for 30 years. He was indeed the king with the longest tenure in the history of Dongyi. Among the guests present were his own brother, his own son, and his own nephew. He did not believe that none of them coveted the throne. Now that he had fallen into the hands of an assassin, these people angered the assassin under the pretense of saving him. It wasn't impossible for the assassin to kill him in a fit of anger. It had to be said that Xiaoji completely crushed many of the civil officials in the court in terms of playing with power and people's hearts. The king of Dongyi was old and cherished his life. He didn't dare to fight with Xiaoji. He suppressed the panic and anger in his heart and glanced to the side. He asked, "Who sent you?" Although the person who kidnapped him was Long Yi, the one who made the decision was the groom who had just spoken. There were a few generals in this group who had fought with Xiaoji before. However, Xiaoji was wearing a veil, so they didn't recognize him for the time being. He was Marquis Xianping, who had killed countless Dongyi warriors on the battlefield. Xiaoji smiled faintly. It doesn't matter who sent me. If you want to live, get someone to prepare a carriage and bring Xiao En and Xiao Zhe here safe and sound. If they lose a single strand of hair, this marquis will chop off one of your fingers. Xiaoji. The king of Dongyi recognized Xiaoji's voice. Xiaoji admitted frankly, "Yes, it's me. So you should know what I'm capable of. I really can kill you." The king of Dongyi had originally intended to deal with the other party, but now he had completely given up. Xiaoji had a strong background, but her methods were even stronger. If he said he would kill, then he would really kill. He would not hesitate to destroy both jade and common stone. He looked at his eldest son and said, "Do as he says." The eldest prince of Dongyi hesitated. "Father," Xiaoji laughed mockingly. "King of Dongyi, you really have a good son." The king of Dongyi's suspicious mind was exposed. He looked at his eldest son coldly and said, "What? Are you thinking of rebelling? Or do you want me to die in the hands of the people of Zhao, just like your uncle? Then you can smoothly inherit the throne." The eldest prince of Dongyi's expression changed. He definitely did not mean that. He just wanted to stall for time and let someone get the poison to knock them out. His loyalty could be witnessed by the sun and moon, but if his father didn't believe him, then his loyalty was nothing. The second prince of Dongyi took the opportunity to stir up trouble. "Father, since Big Brother is not willing, I will do it." Very good. There was an internal conflict. Xiao Ji was happy to watch from the sidelines. He did not care who brought Xiao En and Xiao Zhe in the end. In short, he just wanted the two brothers to be safe. 2 hours later, Xiao En and Xiao Zhe were brought over by a large carriage pulled by 6 horses. Xiao Ji took the Holy Virgin into the carriage. Then Long Yi, who was bringing up the rear, also took the king of Dongyi into the carriage. At this time, a Dongyi official said, "It's enough that you have the Holy Virgin in your hands. Let the king of Dongyi go." Xiao Ji laughed. "Do you think I'm stupid? Isn't it better to have more hostages?" Everyone was rendered speechless. Yes, if they could have more hostages, why only bring one? Could it be that the carriage could not fit all of them? However, it was not that they did not have a chance. A few days ago, Marquis Xianping fell into a trap set by the Holy Virgin to save his son. When he was rescued, he was already dying. Although he was lucky enough to survive, he was still seriously injured. He did not have much fighting power. That expert could not take care of both the inside and outside of the carriage at the same time. As long as the coachman did something halfway and caused the carriage to overturn, the expert would not be able to take care of the hostages if he could take care of Marquis Xianping. At that time, they would have a great chance of saving the king of Dongyi. After making up their minds, everyone secretly exchanged glances and sneered in their hearts as they let them go. The coachman received the secret signal from the guard captain and nodded slightly. 10 miles away, at the small spring slope, the carriage overturned. It was a surprise attack. Xiao Ji and the others were not familiar with the terrain of Dongyi. They would not notice the coachman if he went a long way. The soldiers of Dongyi took a shortcut to the small spring slope, where a large number of experts and archers were lying in ambush. However, they waited for a long time and waited until the sky was dark, but there was still no carriage coming. Of course, the carriage would not come. Not long after they left the Holy Virgin Hall, the coachman was whipped out by the little princess of Dongyi, who was lying in ambush nearby. The little princess of Dongyi took over the coachman's position and led the carriage away from another road. In the carriage, Xiao En, who had been drugged, gradually woke up. Xiaozi was still unconscious. The two of them were injured, as if they had been tortured. However, they were stubborn and didn't say anything that they shouldn't. Xiao En saw his father at a glance and felt a burst of excitement. His eyes began to turn red. Xiao Ji tucked him in and touched his forehead. "Don't talk. Rest well. We will reach the barracks soon." Xiao En did not have the strength to speak at this time. The two of them were Xiao Ji's illegitimate sons. They had been raised by Madame Xiao since they were young. In their hearts, they did not dare to compare themselves with Xiao Heng. They always knew their identity and duty. They did not dare to expect their father to love them as much as he loved his younger brother. But this time, their father risked his life for the two of them. He had never dared to express his closeness to his father. However, at this moment, he could not help but move his head slightly and rest it on his father's palm. At this time, he was like a small animal covered in cuts and bruises. He carefully approached his father. He was a little nervous and apprehensive. He was afraid that he would cross the line and make his father angry. He was also worried that his failure would disappoint his father. Xiao Ji did not pull his hand away. Instead, he raised his thumb and gently stroked his temples. "You did well." The sons of the Xiao family not only had to have the determination to die, but also the courage to face failure. Xiaoen closed his eyes. Hot tears fell from the corners of his eyes. The carriage continued to move forward. The king of Dongyi was also unconscious after being hit by Long Yi's acupuncture point. Outside the curtain, the little princess of Dongyi, who was dressed as a guard, drove the carriage and asked, "I forgot to ask. You kidnapped the King of Dongi and the Holy Virgin. Where is the princess? Did you take her with you?" Xiao Ji glanced at the bride, who was wearing a veil and had been silent all the way. "Oh no. We forgot about Qin Fengwan. She must still be in the secret chamber of the Holy Virgin Hall." The little princess of Dongi staggered and almost drove the carriage into a ditch. "Ah, how did you do your job? How could you forget the princess in the Holy Virgin Hall? It's over, it's over. We just captured the King of Dongi and the Holy Virgin Hall, and now the princess is in their hands. This. In the carriage, the bride clutched the handkerchief in her hand tightly, wishing she could poke a hole in it. "Xiao Ji, I thought you recognized me. So you actually forgot about me." Xiao Ji looked at a certain someone's trembling body and smiled. He pretended to say, "You can't blame me for this. Who asked me to be drugged? My mind was full of Long Yi. How could I remember anyone else?" Swish. The handkerchief in the bride's hand was finally torn. Long Mingming widened her eyes and looked at the torn handkerchief. After thinking for a while, she cleverly sat outside and drove the carriage with the little princess of Dongi. The little princess of Dongi approached Long Yi and whispered, "Mingming, is what the Marquis said true? Did he really forget the princess in the Holy Virgin Hall?" Ever since she knew Long Yi's nickname, she liked to call him that. Long Yi hesitated for a split second between correcting her name and answering her question. Then he frowned and said, "A man's mouth is a liar." The little princess of Dongi was speechless. Naturally, their return journey would not be smooth sailing. The Dongi princes did not wait for them at the small spring slope and guessed that they had changed their route. Thus, they simply led their troops to the only route to Donglin Pass, intending to launch a full-scale assault on them there. They did not intend to care about the life and death of the King of Dongi, who didn't want the throne. In front of the civil and military officials and the people of the Holy Virgin Hall, the princes did not dare to openly disobey the orders of the King of Dongi. But afterward, they had a whole day to think about what their fate would be if the King of Dongi really died. Naturally, there was a follow-up night attack. However, just as they were about to shoot everyone in the carriage to death, Chang Jing led the troops and arrived. Chang Jing took the lead and went straight to the root of the problem, breaking the formation of the Dongi army into a mess. The Dongi people were left to Chang Jing to deal with, and Xiao Ji and the others returned to the barracks. The little princess of Dongi took the antidote to find Xiao Ming. Long Yi brought Xiao En and Xiao Zhe back to their tent and threw the King of Dongi into the snow. Princess Xinyang was angry all the way and was still gnashing her teeth in the carriage. Xiao Ji suppressed the smile on his face and said indifferently, "We've arrived at the barracks. Get out of the carriage." Seeing that she did not move, he said in an arrogant tone, "What? Do you want me to carry you out of the carriage?" Princess Xinyang was very angry. She had spent so much effort to go through the wedding ceremony with him, but this guy had forgotten that she was in Dongi. And he even brought back the Holy Virgin of Dongi. Sure enough, men were all big pig trotters. Very well. She wanted to see what he wanted to do to the Holy Virgin of Dongi. She wore a veil and got out of the carriage. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/1041944478. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 988. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Yujin heard the commotion in the camp and hurried over. She saw the Marquis standing at the entrance of the tent, but she didn't see her princess. She couldn't help but ask worriedly, "Marquis, where is the princess?" Xiaoji looked at the flapping curtain and pretended to sigh. He said, "When I got married to the saintess, I was so focused on kidnapping the saintess that I forgot your princess was in the saintess hall." "Well, what?" Yujin was struck by lightning. She looked at Xiaoji dumbfounded. It was too dark and she was too panicked to notice that Xiaoji was wearing red. It was slightly different from the wedding clothes of the Zhao Kingdom's bridegroom, but his explanation made sense. She was wondering when her marquis liked to wear such flashy colors. There was the sound of stomping in anger from the tent. Xiaoji winked at Yujin. "Don't worry. The saintess and the king of Dongyi are in our hands. They won't dare to do anything to the princess. We'll hold back for now. They can't wait and will come to us to negotiate terms." Yujin was stunned again, and then she understood everything. Her silly princess was tricked by the marquis again? Yujin couldn't bear to watch. She was obviously a smart person, but in the hands of the sly marquis, she was completely controlled. Then, do I need to prepare anything? She had learned bad things. Yujin, you're smart. Xiaoji's eyes were full of smiles, but his tone was casual. Prepare some hot water for the saintess to wash up. Then go to the kitchen to make some food. The saintess doesn't eat spicy food. Remember to put less chili. There was no longer the sound of stomping in the tent, but the sound of pounding on the table. Yujin couldn't bear it. Marquis, don't go too far. I know. Go. Xiaoji suppressed his smile and turned to enter the tent. Yujin had carefully tidied up the tent. She added some furniture and changed the bedding to softer and warmer ones. At this moment, Princess Xinyang was sitting on a stool covered with a cotton cushion. From head to toe, she exuded an aura of wanting to kill Xiaoji. The Eastern barbarian's wedding robes had pockets that were hidden in the creases on both sides. With his hands in his pockets, Xiaoji walked over to Princess Xinyang and sat down next to her. Saintess, you must be tired from the long journey. Are you tired? I was locked up in the Saint Lady Temple, but you only cared about the Saint Lady. If I had Long Yi's martial arts, you would have already lost your life. Xiaoji couldn't hold it in any longer. She couldn't suppress the smile on her face. Fortunately, she was wearing a veil and couldn't see it. He got up and fiddled with something in the tent. It seemed like he had lit a candle. Princess Xinyang felt that there was light on the ground. Xiaoji said softly, "Just now when we were bowing to the heavens and earth, Madam was so sincere that this Xiao was neglectful. I feel guilty in my heart, but I will not let you down in the future." "You're already calling me your husband. You've never called me that before." Princess Xinyang's decades of calmness were completely shattered at this moment. She was finally angered to the point that she was like a little chicken. She raised her hand and was about to lift the veil and lay her cards on the table. She wanted to tell him that from now on, she would never have any contact with him. Who would have thought that before she could lift her hand? Xiaoji's big palm gently caught her hand. Xiaoji said, "The veil on the wedding night should be lifted by your husband." "Marquis, the hot water is here." Yujin's voice came from outside the door. "Bring it in," Xiaoji said. Yujin brought in a basin of hot water, then turned around to bring in a box of snacks. "The food will take some time. Marquis and Cough, you two fill your stomachs first." After she left, Princess Xinyang continued to be angry. But suddenly, a strange thing entered her eyes. It seemed a little familiar, but she couldn't remember where. Before she could think of anything, the veil was lifted. What entered her eyes was a handsome and enchanting face, just like that youth who had used the jade rui to lift her veil on their wedding night many years ago. His face had the grace of time, but the anticipation and joy in his eyes had not changed at all. He looked at her with a smile, carrying a purity and beauty that had not been eroded by time. Of course, there was also a hint of mature and restrained dominance. Princess Xinyang was stunned. For a moment, she felt like she had returned to 20 years ago. Compared to 20 years ago, the two had changed more in temperament. Time seemed to have forgotten them to some extent. She was still as beautiful as before, and he was still as handsome and elegant as before. "You," she opened her mouth, but found that she couldn't make a single sound. She lowered her head to look at the thing in his hand. No wonder it looked familiar. It was the jade rui. No matter how stupid she was, she understood now. When he had lifted her veil, he had not shown any shock. This meant that he knew it was her under the veil. This guy. Had he been teasing her the whole time? She felt that this was not right, and wanted to be angry with him. But when she saw his expression, which was the same as before, and the jade ruby in his hand, as well as the dragon, phoenix, incense, and candles that had been lit on the table at some point, her heart unconsciously moved. "When did you prepare these?" she asked in a low voice. "You're talking about this." Xiaoji looked at the jade ruby in his hand with a smile and said, "On the way." When we were about to reach the military camp, we stopped in the town. The carriage stopped? She had only been angry and had not paid attention to these details. Did he deliberately let her be the saintess all the way just for this? Thinking about it, if he had said earlier that he had recognized her, then in front of Long Yi and Jun, she would have been too shy to continue wearing the veil and pretending to be a bride. She had thought that everything would be over after the wedding ceremony. That was the time she and Long Yi had agreed to make their move. She had no more extravagant demands. But how did this man think of such a malicious move? On one hand, he made her angry, but on the other hand, he took advantage of her inattention to get the dragon, phoenix, incense, and jade ruby. Xiaoji had not only gotten the dragon, phoenix, incense, and jade ruby, but also the nuptial wine that they had not drunk before. He poured 2 cups of wine and handed one to her. The wine at the border is not as fragrant as the imperial wine in the palace, so you have to make do with it. Princess Xinyang looked down at the light in the wine cup. "How did you recognize me?" Xiaoji smiled. "You bowed like that. Were you afraid that I wouldn't recognize you?" Princess Xinyang blushed. "Didn't you do the same back then?" The two's wrists intertwined, and they drank the nuptial wine that had been delayed for more than 20 years. She didn't know if it was the effect of the wine or the burning charcoal in the tent, but her cheeks were red. Xiaoji gazed deeply at her. "Qin Fengwan, do you know what nuptial wine means?" Princess Xinyang was startled by his sudden question. He didn't expect her to answer and continued. "After drinking nuptial wine, we live in the same quilt, and we die in the same fur." It even rhymed quite well. Princess Xinyang mumbled, "Why haven't I heard of it?" He put the empty wine cup back on the table and said righteously, "There will be in the future. It will be recorded in the history books. It was me who said it." Princess Xinyang put the wine cup next to his cup. Even the cups were paired, which was very appropriate for the occasion. "And then?" she asked after gathering her courage. Xiaoji glanced at her. "And then what? After drinking nuptial wine, what should I do?" "Naturally, we should consummate our marriage," Xiaoji said and looked at her seriously. "Qin Fengwan, you should know when to stop. Don't you know what kind of occasion this is? Drinking nuptial wine with you is already very indulgent of you. And you still want to consummate our marriage?" Princess Xinyang glanced at his wound. "Oh." Xiaoji frowned. "It's not that I can't, but consummating our marriage in the military camp is against the rules. Also, do you think those people are deaf?" People who practice martial arts had excellent hearing. Princess Xinyang thought that the commotion could be heard at any time, so she didn't have the courage to consummate her marriage. After washing up, the two lay on the soft bed. "You're wound," she said. "It's fine," he said. "It's impossible for us to consummate our marriage." Princess Xinyang lowered her eyes. "Oh." Xiaoji smiled faintly. "Qin Fengwan, are you very disappointed?" "No," Princess Xinyang said. She lay flat beside him and pulled up the quilt. Xiaoji said, "That's good. Don't take advantage of me in the middle of the night." "I'm a bit cold," Princess Xinyang said. "Xiaoji, if you want me to hug you, just say it." Princess Xinyang's face was slightly red. "Hug me." "Xiaoji." He looked at the blushing Princess Xinyang beside him in disbelief. Could it be that he had bought the wrong wine? He told the owner to get the one with the least alcohol content. Did the owner give him the one with the most alcohol content? Princess Xinyang's heart was on fire. Alcohol boosts courage. She couldn't hold her liquor well. At best, she was only a bit better than Gu Jiao, but not by much. After drinking a cup, The past flashed through her mind. The more she thought about their wedding night, the more she felt that she owed him. And the more she regretted missing out on the beauty they had missed out on all these years. How many 20 years could a person have in their life? One wasted night was one less night. It was as if her conception and governing vessels had been opened, and all her previous understandings were overturned. Xiaoji didn't consummate their marriage not because he was retreating, but because he really didn't plan on taking her here. First, it was because of his injury. Second, she was a noble. This was her sincere first time, so he didn't want to be so hasty. But a certain someone was drunk tonight, and kept rubbing against him. He looked at the restless woman in his arms and took a deep breath. Qin Fengwan, what are you doing now? Princess Xinyang's hand went deep into his clothes. I'm not doing anything. I'm just touching. Xiaoji. Qin Fengwan, you're drunk, he said helplessly. He took Qin Fengwan's hand out. Princess Xinyang inadvertently acted coquettishly. I can't sleep. I'm a bit hot. Xiaoji's blood rushed to his head, and he pulled her onto his body. He held her head and kissed her domineeringly and forcefully. The fragrance of the wine lingered between his lips and teeth. He tasted her beauty, and his hand unconsciously caressed her sensitive waist. But he didn't go overboard. He held it in. After kissing for an unknown amount of time, her body suddenly tightened, and her mind went blank. Xiaoji froze. Princess Xinyang let go of his lips with a red face and buried her head in his arms, not moving at all. Xiaoji was shocked. Qin Fengwan, I only kissed you, and you actually. Princess Xinyang was so embarrassed. Yes, it was only a kiss. Why did I? Xiaoji hugged her and murmured in a daze. You didn't take your medicine tonight. Why are you more sensitive than if you took your medicine? Princess Xinyang was too ashamed to see anyone. Just now, she had also sobered up, and her mind was unprecedentedly clear. And it was precisely because she was clear-headed that she wanted to die even more. So embarrassing. Xiaoji calmed down and said seriously, if you really want it, I can also. Shut up. Princess Xinyang didn't allow him to mention this matter again. She got off his body and pulled the blanket over her head, deciding to shut herself in and not see anyone for the rest of her life. Xiaoji lifted the blanket and went out. Princess Xinyang didn't know why he suddenly left, but from his restrained actions tonight, she guessed that he wanted her to calm down by herself. Outside the tent, the sound of soldiers gathering could be heard. The sound of horses' hooves and armor rubbing against each other could be heard. Princess Xinyang was dumbfounded. Didn't I just do that? As for training soldiers in the middle of the night to calm down? A quarter of an hour later, the sound of soldiers gathering gradually stopped. Her mind was buzzing, and she couldn't tell what had happened. The next second, the tent's curtain was lifted, and a figure wearing the moon and stars quickly walked in. He first locked the curtains, then strode to the bedside. He took off his clothes. Princess Xinyang heard the rustling sounds behind her and turned around in a daze, looking at him in confusion. What are you doing? Consummating the marriage, he said. Princess Xinyang looked at him in surprise. But didn't you say, it's against the rules? He untied his belt. I am the rules. Then they went out. So you woke them up in the middle of the night not to train soldiers, but to drive them all out. How much better is this than letting them hear the commotion? Tomorrow, the entire border will know that a first-rank Marshal Marquis of Zhao country kicked the soldiers out of the barracks in the middle of the night in order to have sex with his wife. Princess Xinyang. I might as well die. That night he was extremely gentle. He treated her like a treasure that he had protected for a lifetime, giving her all the beauty of the consummation of the marriage. Digression. The little chick Marquis and the princess's story ends here. What does everyone think? P.S. Last few hours, don't waste your monthly votes, the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://zhhbqg.com/89642_896428286/1041909040 HTML genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. Chapter 989. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. After Xiaoming took the antidote, he finally woke up on a dark and windy night. However, what puzzled him the most was that the huge military camp was completely empty. There wasn't a single person in sight. It was ridiculous. Did the Dongi people already occupy the border? Did they kill all the soldiers in the camp? It couldn't be that all the soldiers were sent out. Since ancient times, there had never been such a precedent. Just when he was puzzled, a muscular black shadow flashed into his tent and carried him along with his mattress. Then, the shadow ran out of the camp as if it was flying. It was Long Yi. They only remembered that they had left the poisoned Xiaoming in the camp when they were far away. He came back to take Xiaoming away. Long Mingming was not a bad shadow guard Long who would eavesdrop. His ears were stuffed with cotton. The soldiers in the camp wandered outside for 3 days before they were allowed to return to the camp. During these 3 days, they couldn't return to the camp, but they couldn't really wander outside, so they went to rob the Dongi people. Chang Jing and the first prince of Dongi's army were engaged in a fierce battle. A terrifying torrent of armor surged in unstoppably. Chang Jing just raised his long sword to stab the second prince of Dongi when his sword was knocked away. He turned around and found that it was his own people. He couldn't lose his temper. Chang Jing's face darkened. Xiaoming's poison had been cured, and Xiao In and Xiao Zhe had successfully escaped danger. The eastern barbarians no longer had any means of restraining the Zhao kingdom. The soldiers' sullen mood from being woken up in the middle of the night and chased out of the barracks was vented on the eastern barbarians. The eastern barbarians were beaten to a pulp and surrendered within a few days. The Dongi people looked at the army of the Zhao kingdom that didn't return to the capital at all. They thought that they had surrendered and signed the oppressive treaty. Why didn't they leave? The soldiers felt bitter, but they didn't say anything. Xiaoji was injured. Although he had taken the medicine from the Saint Lady Temple and was recovering very well, even if it was excessive, it still had an impact. Not only was his wound torn open, but he had also caught a cold. Princess Xinyang was no better than him. She was the one who had infected Xiaoji with the cold. Achoo! In Xiaoming's tent, Xiaoji sneezed heavily. Xiaoming looked at his brother with a speechless expression. Big brother, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're not a brat who hasn't tasted meat. How can you be so unrestrained? Look at your injuries and illnesses. Those who don't know what's going on might wonder what's wrong with you. Xiaoji's nose was blocked. She said in a nasal voice, "You don't understand the happiness of being newlyweds." Xiaoming, a newlywed for over 20 years, haha. Achoo, achoo, achoo. In another tent, Princess Xinyang sat on the bed, wrapped in a blanket, sneezing incessantly. Yujin's heart ached for her. She hurriedly took the ginger soup from the table and handed it to her. Hurry up and drink it while it's hot. You'll be sweating all over. Princess Xinyang raised her hand, intending to take the ginger soup, but found that she didn't even have the strength to move her arm. Eugene face-bombed. What's going on? She shook her head, picked up the spoon, and began to feed her princess spoonful by spoonful. As she fed, she said resentfully, "The Marquis is really too much. He knows that the princess is young, experienced in human affairs. He should know how to control himself." Princess Xinyang lowered her eyes and drank the medicine. She mumbled an N. She felt a bit guilty. After all, he wasn't the only one who didn't know how to control himself. A great victory at the border. Xiaoji released the king of Dongi, but he couldn't bear the burden himself. A few days later, he fell seriously ill and passed away before he could issue a decree to pass on the throne. After the foreign invasion, Dongi began to have internal strife. Several princes fought until their faces turned red, but the result of their ascension surprised everyone. The new king was actually the Holy Maiden of Dongi. Her husband was the son of a noble from the Zhao kingdom. Good plan, Qin Fengwan. On the carriage back to the capital, Xiaoji crossed his arms and calmly looked at Princess Xinyang, who said that women were inferior to men. Qin Fengwan wasn't interested in court politics. Otherwise, she could also be a regent princess. That day, everyone thought that Qin Fengwan had drugged the Holy Maiden, but that wasn't the case. Qin Fengwan clearly gave the Holy Maiden two choices. The first was to be drugged and forced to submit to her. The second was to make a deal, and both sides would take what they needed. When she heard that Qin Fengwan wanted to use the throne of Dongyi in exchange for the chance to marry Xiaoji, the Holy Maiden thought that Qin Fengwan was crazy. Qin Fengwan wasn't crazy. She just felt that this man was worth it. She proposed this condition based on many considerations. The Holy Maiden was ambitious and capable. No matter which prince succeeded the throne in the future, he wouldn't be able to withstand the rebellion of the Holy Maiden Temple. Instead, it was better to take advantage of the situation and help the Holy Maiden to the throne. There was also an additional condition. The Holy Maiden had to marry into the Zhao kingdom. She would decide on the candidate. After Xiaoming woke up, he recognized his daughter. From then on, there was no longer a little princess of Dongyi in the world. There was only the daughter of the Xiao family, Xiaozhen. Xiaozhen was going to be recorded in the genealogy. She returned to the capital with Xiaoji and Qin Fengwan. On the day before they set off, a small episode occurred. Xiaoming grabbed a long sword and chased Long Yi around the military camp. You stop? He couldn't beat Long Yi, and he couldn't catch up with him. Long Yi's face wasn't red and he wasn't out of breath, but he was about to faint. The story started when Long Yi and Xiaozhen went to the Holy Maiden Temple to find Xiaoji and Qin Fengwan. Xiaoji was drugged, and it had an effect on Long Yi. In order to prevent the drug's effect from getting worse, Qin Fengwan asked Zhen to take Long Yi to another room to stay for a few nights. Who would have thought that after searching the entire Holy Maiden Temple, there would only be one room that was close to the inner hall, and no one had passed by. Zhen wanted to say something but stopped. But seeing that her uncle and his wife were glued to each other, she couldn't bear to separate them, so she stayed in the room with Long Yi. But she swore to God that there was nothing between her and the big guy. Long Yi didn't easily fall asleep in an unfamiliar place. He stayed on the roof beam and vigilantly watched the movements of the Holy Maiden Temple all night long. Long Yi was simple and didn't think much about it. Zhen also felt that it wasn't worth mentioning. It was best to let this matter rot in each other's stomachs. Who would have thought that she drank a few mouthfuls of horse milk wine that night and accidentally let it slip, and let her father hear about it? Xiaoming firmly believed that Long Yi had ruined his daughter's reputation, and wanted to chop Long Yi, this bastard. While running, Long Yi turned his head and looked back, making Xiaoming angry. After Xiao En and Xiao Zhe recovered, they went to pay their respects to Qin Fengwan. Princess. The two cupped their hands and bowed. In their impression, Princess Xinyang didn't accept their father, so naturally, she wouldn't accept their father's children. Qin Fengwan didn't force them to call her mother. She made 2 sets of clothes for the 2 of them. This was the first time the 2 of them had received a gift from her, so they were a little confused. Qin Fengwan said warmly, "You're all grown up and should get married. Do you have a girl you like? If you do, I'll go and propose marriage." The 2 of them looked at her in disbelief. Qin Fengwan continued, "If you don't have one, I'll choose 1 or 2 for you. Naturally, I'll go and send the betrothal gifts only if they suit your taste." Did the princess accept them? Qin Fengwan looked at them and said, "I heard from your second uncle that you'll be able to return to the capital at the end of this year. It just so happens that Qing and Yi haven't seen their 2 older brothers yet." The 2 of them choked with sobs as they hugged the clothes she had personally sewn and bowed deeply. At the end of April, Xiaoji and Qin Fengwan's carriage arrived at the capital. "Take the busiest street. Open all the windows. Lift the curtains as well," Xiaoji instructed boldly. Chang Jing drove the carriage and asked in confusion, "Why do you have to do this?" Xiaoji flicked his wide sleeves and said infuriatingly, "This marquis is so handsome. Let the people see more of me." Chang Jing. What Xiao Ji wanted the people to see wasn't his face but his and Qin Fengwan's love. Didn't the people say that he and Qin Fengwan didn't get along well? He wanted them to open their eyes wide and see. Go around again, he instructed Changjing. Changjing complained helplessly. We've already gone around 3 times. All the people in the capital saw you sitting in Princess Xinyang's carriage. That person didn't see it. Xiao Ji pointed at a beggar on the side of the road. Changjing said expressionlessly, because he's blind. Xiao Ji. Then go and tell him. Changjing. After going around 3 more times, the sky was dark. Only then did Xiao Ji let Changjing in today's parade in satisfaction. Are we going back to the residence? Changjing didn't have a temper anymore. Xiao Ji raised his eyebrows. No, to the palace. As soon as the 2 of them arrived at the palace gate, they were picked up by Eunuch Wei, who was by the emperor's side, and Eunuch Su, who was by Empress Zhao's side. In the imperial study, the emperor wanted to say something several times but didn't. Qin Fengwan calmly glanced at him and asked, "What's the matter, your majesty?" The fear of being dominated by his imperial sister came. The emperor silently wiped the sweat from his forehead. She was clearly his younger sister, but why did it feel like she was his imperial sister when she was serious? The emperor finally said it. He sighed. "Xinyang, I heard that you found a new gigolo." Qin Fengwan asked strangely, "Where did this come from?" The emperor raised his hand. "Don't hide it from me. It spread throughout the palace that you went to the border and bumped into Xiao Ji's romantic affair. In a fit of anger, you found a gigolo who looked like Xiao Ji and even paraded around the capital for an entire day to humiliate Xiao Ji." Qin Fengwan's mouth twitched. Did she swim around all day and feel lonely? How did Xiao Ji become her gigolo? In Cunning Palace, Xiao Ji was also being interrogated by Empress Xiao. "Brother, tell me the truth. Are the rumors outside true? Did you really bring an unfamiliar woman back to the capital? You even let all the people in the capital see it. Are you finally unable to stand that woman anymore? Have you decided to revolt?" Xiao Ji frowned. What's going on? Empress Xiao was Xiao Ji's younger sister, so of course, she would side with Xiao Ji. She said happily, "That's true. She treated you so badly all these years. You should have taken in another concubine to anger her. What's her status? If it's not enough, I'll help you raise it up and make sure your sweetheart becomes a concubine." Xiao Ji looked at his younger sister worriedly. "If you let Qin Fengwan become a concubine, aren't you afraid that she'll give the emperor 100 concubines?" They deliberately showed off their love, but in the end they showed off a bunch of chicken feathers. The couple was also very sullen. Digression. I actually wrote another digression for this chapter. I laughed until I cried. P.S. A new chapter has started. Begging for a wave of monthly votes, the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are novels with connotations that can't be found online here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1041742240. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 990. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The news of Xiao Ji and Qin Fengwan taking their concubines and male companions to parade through the streets caused a sensation in the capital. Those who recognized Xiao Ji said that Xiao Ji took his concubines, and those who recognized Qin Fengwan said that Qin Fengwan took her male companions. Both of them recognized each other. In any case, no one believed it. In short, no one in the capital believed that the two of them were truly in love. At best, it was just the imperial family putting on a show. These princes and nobles all care about face. They appear to be united but are actually divided. They put on a show for us common people to see, but who knows what they're like in private? This was what a small eunuch in charge of purchasing told the two of them word for word. Qin Fenghuan's face turned green. Xiao Ji's face was also not much better. He didn't give up and said domineeringly, "This marquis and the princess had a daughter in these 2 years. What did they say?" The small eunuch braced himself and said, "They all said that the princess drugged you and ran away after using you. She even threw you away." Xiao Ji, Qin Fenghuan. Xiao Heng had just left the inner pavilion when he heard about the storm on the streets. They caused such a big commotion on the first day of returning to the capital. As expected of his parents, he simply didn't know what to say. When he returned to the mansion, he asked the servants if his parents had returned. The servants said no and seemed to have gone to the palace. As for how the servants knew, it had to start with Long Yi. The first thing Long Yi did when he returned to the capital was to find the twins. Naturally, he mentioned the whereabouts of Xiao Ji and Qin Fenghuan to Yuya Xiao Zhen didn't come back with them because the matter before leaving made Xiao Ming change his mind. He let his daughter return to the capital with Xiao En and Xiao Zhe at the end of the year to avoid Long Yi, this bad guy who took advantage of his daughter. Gu Jiao had already finished packing and was waiting for Xiao Heng. Xiao Heng kissed his wife and went to the inner room to change his clothes. Then he sat in the carriage with her and entered the palace. In the carriage, Xiao Heng waited for a while, but Yu didn't come back with the 2 children. Yen and Song, Gu Jiao said, "Long Yi left, it's okay, they will enter the palace in a moment." As for whether he would go through the gate or not, that would depend on Long Yi's idea. If he wanted to leap over eaves and vault over walls, then the imperial bodyguards wouldn't be able to stop him. Xiao Heng heaved a long sigh of relief. Thank God, Mom and Dad are finally back. The twins could be sent away, and Yi could be sent away. He could spend time with Jiao Jiao again. He was happy. Brother. Sister-in-law. A small head with a small bun on her head poked through the curtain of the carriage and looked at the 2 cutely. Xiao Heng was in a very good mood, because he would be able to return the little fellow to its rightful owner in a while, along with the gift of the twins. The 3 of them entered the palace. Xiao Ji and Qin Fenghuan were still unhappy about the rumors. The 2 of them sat in the pavilion, and the flowers in the imperial garden didn't dare to bloom. Xiao Heng held Xiao Yi's hand and looked at the pavilion in front of them. He said, "Do you see Mom and Dad? Quickly go and greet them." Xiao Yi turned her little head and her eyes shone. "Brother Chongjing." She decisively waved her little hand and went to look for Chongjing. The 2 of them didn't care that their youngest daughter had been abducted by Chongjing, and they sat in the pavilion and sighed. Xiao Heng and Gu Jiao walked over and greeted the 2 of them. Xiao Ji looked at his son and daughter-in-law and asked, "You should have heard the rumors outside. What do you think?" "What rumors?" Gu Jiao asked. It was a bit difficult to say such words in front of the children. Even Xiao Ji hesitated for a while before coughing lightly and saying seriously, "I brought a woman back from the border. Your mother has a gigolo." Xiao Heng mumbled, "Is it a rumor?" Xiao Ji, "Marquis, Princess, you're back." Steward Lu quickly walked over with a large pile of high-quality tonics, which Xiao Heng had prepared for Empress Dowager Zhuang. Xiao Ji waved at him. "Come here." "Yes, Marquis." As Xiao Ji's confidant, Steward Lu had always been loyal to Xiao Ji. Xiao Ji looked at Qin Fenghuan beside him and held Qin Fenghuan's hand in front of everyone. He said solemnly, "The princess and I have rekindled our relationship. From now on, we will be a loving couple who will never leave each other." Qin Fenghuan blushed. The pavilion was silent for a full 3 seconds. Xiao Ji said indifferently, "What? You don't believe me?" I believe. Steward Lu's face was wild with joy. "Congratulations, Marquis. Congratulations, Marquis. Congratulations, Princess. Congratulations, Princess. I've long said that you 2 are a match made in heaven. There's no more loving couple in the world than you 2. Xiao Ji was very satisfied. "That's more like it." The next second, Steward Lu moved closer to him while tidying his clothes and whispered, "Marquis, blink if you're threatened." Xiao Ji, Dinner was served at Renshou Palace, and the old chancellor also came over. The reason was that 2-year-old Qin Wuyo was enlightened. He was Qin Wuyo's enlightened teacher, and would enter the palace to teach Qin Wuyo every day. However, Qin Wuyo was the eldest grandson of the emperor, so he couldn't teach alone. He even picked many peers from the aristocratic families to accompany him. The 3.5-year-old Gu Xiaobao was one of them. Gu Xiaobao lived in Renshou Palace. Every time after class, the old chancellor would personally send Gu Xiaobao over. As usual, he sent Gu Xiaobao to the entrance of Renshou Palace, and coincidentally bumped into the emperor, who was here for dinner. As Qin Wuyo's study companion and a resident of Jadewater Alley and Renshou Palace, Gu Xiaobao had met the emperor many times. Like a little adult, he respectfully bowed. "Your Majesty." Xiaobao came over. The emperor looked at him amiably. "Did you learn today's lesson?" Gu Xiaobao thought for a while and replied, "No. Actually, he knew everything, but Qin Wuyo didn't." Then he couldn't know either. He was a little shrew since young. The emperor was very happy. It wasn't that his grandson was stupid, but that the things the old chancellor taught were too difficult. "Go in," the emperor said to Gu Xiaobao. Gu Xiaobao went to find his great-aunt. The emperor turned to go in, but the old chancellor suddenly asked despite knowing the answer, "Your Majesty, Renshou Palace is so lively. Did something happen?" The emperor said indifferently, "Marquis Xianping and Xinyang have returned. They are greeting mother inside." The old chancellor stroked his beard. "Also, the princess has returned. This humble official should go greet Princess Xinyang. You're not familiar with her. Why are you greeting her?" The emperor said, "Isn't it too late? You should go to her residence tomorrow to greet her." The old chancellor said, "Not late, not late." The emperor said, "I'm asking you to leave. Didn't you see?" The old chancellor said, This old minister's eyes are blurred. I can't see." Xiao Ji and his son were both there, as well as Chang Jing and Long Yi. It wasn't appropriate to reject the old chancellor with the excuse of being a foreigner. The emperor led the old chancellor into Renshou Palace with a dark face. The old chancellor paid his respects to Princess Xinyang, and then he didn't leave. The emperor was so angry that he sat on the side and shook his legs. "Could it be that my beloved minister wants to have dinner in Renshou Palace?" The old chancellor cupped his hands. "Since your majesty said so, this official can only accept the decree." The dinner was placed in the courtyard. They admired the flowers, the moon, and the scenery of late spring. The children had finished eating long ago and were playing in the garden. Several young palace maids accompanied them, as if they had endless energy. Qin Fengwan rubbed her sore arms. Just now, she had only hugged Yi and the twins twice, but her waist and back were aching. "It's still good to be young," she sighed. The adults had also finished eating, so the servants removed the dining table and replaced it with a tea table. Xiao Ji was peeling an orange for Qin Fengwan. "What's good to be young?" Qin Fengwan thought of the rumors of him taking in a concubine and said sourly, "You men like young girls." Xiao Ji was about to speak when the old chancellor on the other side spoke first. "Who said so?" He looked at the old chancellor, but the old chancellor didn't look at them. It didn't seem like he was talking to them. He continued peeling the orange. "Qin Fengwan, don't you know how many times I look at you every day? I don't even look at those young girls." Qin Fengwan touched her face. "When I'm older, you won't like to look at me anymore." Xiao Ji removed the tangerine that she didn't like and raised his brows. "You're old, but am I not old? Besides, even after 10, 20 or 30 years, you'll still be the most beautiful little old lady in Jiaodu." The old chancellor said, "That's right." Xiao Ji turned around and looked at the old chancellor strangely. Qin Fengwan was far away, and her hearing wasn't as good as Xiao Ji's, so she didn't hear what the old chancellor said. She lowered her eyes and said softly, "When I'm very, very old, will you still like to look at me?" The old chancellor said, "Of course." Xiao Ji frowned. "Hua, what's wrong with you today?" Under the moonlight, Empress Dowager Zhuang was looking at a few playful children while the old chancellor was looking at the quiet her. Digression. This is the end of Xinyang and Little Chick Monkey's story. Tomorrow little Jing Kong will grow up, And this should be the last story of this story. Not everyone had to explain everything, no matter how big or small. And not every character had to be a couple. Some readers want me to write about some passerby, but this is impossible. A story has its logic and also its appreciation. Overdoing it is just as bad as not doing it enough. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more fully. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1041687070. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. Chapter 991. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. After leaving the Imperial Palace, Xiaoheng wanted to give the 3 children to his parents, but when he turned around, his father decisively took his mother to Vermilion Bird Avenue. Xiaoheng didn't even catch a glimpse of their shadows. He looked at the carriage that disappeared into the street and muttered, "What are they doing?" Gu Jiao made a sound of surprise. "Honeymoon." Xiaoheng's mouth twitched. A honeymoon that was 20 years late. He looked at the 3 little kids who were staring at him with wide eyes and instantly felt his life crumble. He first sent Gu Jiao and the 3 children back to the Princess Manor, then set off for Marquis Ding and Manor. Little Jing Kong was a well-rounded child. Not only did he complete his cultural studies, he didn't fall behind in martial arts either. Recently, he was learning martial arts from Gu Changqing. Even though Gu Changqing said he would send him back, Xiaoheng still tried his best to pick him up every night. It felt different to have a parent pick him up. Actually, there were many people who taught little Jing Kong martial arts. Xianyuan Qi Long Yi Marquis Xianping Gu Changqing, Changjing, and his master Liao Chen. He learned well from everyone and didn't mix up. He was also gifted. Big brother, goodbye. Sister-in-law, goodbye. Little Jing Kong said goodbye to Gu Changqing and Yuan Baolin at the entrance of the manor. Xiaoheng also thanked the 2 and then brought little Jing Kong into the carriage. Little Jing Kong wasn't young anymore. He was 9 years old and was growing faster by the day. He was no longer a little kid who would be completely blocked by the table when he sat down. Bad brother-in-law. He snorted and arrogantly got into the carriage. Xiaoheng, you're not cute the moment you open your mouth. I wonder who you learned this from. Little Jing Kong had long been a tyrant in the Imperial College. He was cold and handsome. He was only childish in front of Gu Jiao and Xiaoheng. The carriage didn't go through Chang'an Street, but went in the direction of Black Tortoise Street. What are you doing? Little Jing Kong had a good sense of direction, especially since the Imperial College was on Xuanwu Street. He was very familiar with this area, and could tell if the carriage was going in the right direction with his eyes closed. This is not the way back to the princess residence. He looked at his bad brother-in-law suspiciously. Are you going to sell me in the middle of the night? Xiaoheng looked at him with both anger and amusement. Yes, I want to sell you so that you won't raise my rent in the future. Little Jing Kong crossed his arms, raised his chin and snorted. You're still talking about it? You haven't paid your rent this year. It's been 4 months. Xiaoheng flicked his wide sleeves and said indifferently, Didn't you pay off your debt? Little Jing Kong's eyes flashed. Pay off what debt? I fought with someone with a bird and was given a demerit by the Imperial College. My parents were called. I went. I collected protection fees, and was given a demerit by the Imperial College twice. My parents were called. I went. I cheated in the exam, and was given a demerit by the Imperial College 3 times. I went. Speaking up to this point, Xiaoheng glanced at a certain little fellow and said, Let's agree on it. I'll help you hide it from Jiao Jiao for 500 taels each time. So, you still owe me 300 taels? Little Jing Kong's arrogance fell. He bluffed. You've changed. You would never be bribed by me in the past. Xiao Heng wouldn't be led by the nose. So you're saying that I have to cover for you for free? Fine, I'll tell Jiao Jiao later. Little Jing Kong was furious. No. They bickered. The carriage suddenly stopped. Little Duke, little master, we've arrived, the coachman said. Xiao Heng stood up. Get off. Little Jing Kong followed him and got off the carriage. He looked around and asked in confusion. Huh? It's so late. What are we doing at the Imperial College? I'm taking you to meet someone, Xiao Heng said. He led the way in front, and Xiao Jingkong followed unwillingly. After entering the Imperial College, Xiao Heng took him directly to the teacher's attic. The teachers had already finished their shift and the attic was dark. There was only one room that seemed to be lit by an oil lamp. The two of them came to the door. The door was open, and a teacher was writing something. Because he was too focused, he did not notice that someone had come. Teacher Sun. Little Jing Kong recognized him. Teacher Sun used to be one of the teachers of the prodigy class. He didn't teach the prodigy class anymore, because of some personnel changes. Little Jing Kong rarely saw him. Teacher Sun looked older than a few years ago. He had a few strands of white hair on his head. In fact, he was only in his 40s. Why did you bring me to see Teacher Sun? Little Jing Kong asked in confusion. Xiao Heng looked at him and said, I didn't want to bring you to see Teacher Sunday. Teacher Sun wanted to see you himself. Huh. Little Jing Kong was even more confused. Teacher Sun's eyes were sore. When he raised his hand to rub his eyes, he saw Xiao Heng and Little Jing Kong. He wasn't surprised. Instead, he felt relieved. He smiled and said, Come in. The two entered the room. Little Jing Kong found that there were a lot of papers on his desk. The papers were filled with all kinds of strange formulas. He had learned a little and knew that these were the mathematics of Jiao Jiao's previous life. A lot of mathematical knowledge was recorded in one of the national books of the Yan Kingdom. Sorry to keep you waiting, Teacher Sun, Xiao Heng said. It's okay. Teacher Sun hurriedly waved his hand and said, It's my honor that you agreed to come. Who would have thought that the little cripple whom he looked down upon in the past would become the Grand Secretary of the Imperial Court? He was blind and didn't recognize that he was the young Duke of Zhaodu who died in the fire. However, his achievements today had nothing to do with his identity. It was because he was truly talented and full of wisdom. Teacher Sun didn't beat around the bush. He directly bowed to Little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong was shocked. What's going on? Teacher, you suddenly bowed to me. I'm very nervous. After Teacher Sun bowed, he smiled and said sincerely, The ancestral rate that you read out was correct. I was too arbitrary and wronged you. This was when Little Jing Kong just entered the Imperial College. Teacher Sun taught a math problem to the children of the prodigy class, and expanded it to the ancestral rate. The ancestral rate passed down by the ancestors was only up to 7 digits, which was recorded in the Swanjing 10 books. Little Jing Kong read out 17 or 18 digits in one breath. Teacher Sun said that Little Jing Kong was talking nonsense and disturbing the class. Little Jing Kong, on the other hand, suspected that Teacher Sun was misleading his students. He even threw 10 arithmetic problems that Gu Jiao had taught him in one go, successfully stumping Teacher Sunday. Teacher Sun was not convinced and gave him 10 math problems. He answered half of them. He even said some infuriating words. What's so strange about me not being able to answer the remaining questions? I'm a student. I came here to study, because I don't know how to do it. If I know how to do it, why do I need a teacher? Teacher Sun was so angry that he hit his palm with a ruler. However, Little Jing Kong dodged quickly. He didn't hit Teacher Sun but fell down himself. The whole class burst into laughter. The students of the other 4 classes also came to watch. Teacher Sun was so embarrassed that he cried on the spot. After that, Xiao Heng took Little Jing Kong to apologize to Teacher Sunday. As a student, he shouldn't disrespect the teacher and disturb the class. But at the same time, Xiao Heng also made a request to Teacher Sun. As for the ancestral rate, I will try my best to verify it. If Jing Kong is correct, then I hope Teacher Sun can also apologize to Jing Kong because you wronged him. Little Jing Kong thought that Shi Yi was touched by his bad brother-in-law. But after that, his bad brother-in-law didn't mention it again. Little Jing Kong gradually felt that it was not a big deal and forgot about it. Xiao Heng found the formula for calculating the ancestral rate in the national letter of the Yin Kingdom. After he learned it, he taught it to Teacher Sunday. Teacher Sun had calculated it 3 days ago. It was raining outside when they came out of the attic. Bean-sized raindrops hit the eaves. The rain came so suddenly that no one expected it. The coachman was waiting outside the attic with an umbrella. There were only 2 umbrellas. Xiao Heng gave one to the coachman, and the other to Little Jing Kong. The rain was heavy and rapid. Small streams of water meandered through the low-lying areas. Xiao Heng squatted down in front of Little Jing Kong. "Come up." Little Jing Kong muttered, "I can walk by myself." "Hurry up," Xiao Heng urged. Little Jing Kong slowly climbed onto his bad brother-in-law's back and opened the umbrella to block the pouring rain. Xiao Heng stepped in the puddles. His clothes and shoes were soaked. The rain in late spring was cold, as if it was the last resistance to summer. Little Jing Kong lay on Xiao Heng's broad and warm back. He couldn't help but feel his breath. He thought of what had happened today and muttered softly, "Why do you still remember? Who wants his apology?" Xiao Heng said, "Then should I ask Teacher Sun to take it back?" Little Jing Kong, "No." Xiao Heng laughed. "Forget it. I'll give you a free rent this year. Remember to pay back the 300 taels you owe me, bad brother-in-law." After the new year, Little Jing Kong was 9 years old. He deserved to be called a child prodigy. There was a huge gap between him and the children who just started school. Xiao Heng and the old chancellor had to give him special treatment from time to time. He wanted to take the imperial examination. Xiao Heng had no objection. Gu Jiao also agreed. He passed the examination and successfully passed the imperial examination. A 9-year-old imperial examination was quite rare. He was quite happy. He took the imperial examination to show off to his bad brother-in-law. In the end, he learned that his bad brother-in-law passed the imperial examination at the age of 8. He didn't feel good at all. How could his bad brother-in-law pass the imperial examination earlier than him? "When did my bad brother-in-law pass the imperial examination?" he asked the servant in the residence. The servant said, "When he was 10 years old." Originally, Little Duke could pass the imperial examination after passing the imperial examination. However, the princess said that it wasn't too early. She delayed it for 2 years before letting Little Duke take the examination. He passed the imperial examination at that time. He wanted to be a 9-year-old imperial examination. He was better than his bad brother-in-law. In the previous dynasty, the imperial examination was held twice every 3 years. In this dynasty, in order to select more talents, it was changed to once a year. This year's imperial examination hadn't arrived yet. Little Jing Kong signed up with high expectations. He was full of confidence in the examination. The old chancellor and Xiao Heng also thought that it wouldn't be a big problem. However, no one expected that he, who had always been lucky, would go against the flow on the day of the examination. Little Eight's son chewed up his examination permit. That's right. Little Eight, who was brought to the capital by Gu Yan from the farmstead, grew up and became a father with 2 puppies. Little Jing Kong broke down and cried loudly. Shi Sui didn't pass the imperial examination too late. He could tie with his bad brother-in-law. However, he went against the flow again. He broke his hand on the day before the examination. Although 11 years old was a year late, it wasn't too much. This time he finally entered the examination hall successfully. After finishing the examination, he caught fire. He looked up to the sky and roared, "Bad brother-in-law, did you pass your bad luck to me?" He stopped taking the imperial examination when he was 12 years old. When the dispute between the 6 states arose again, he joined the army. Digression. Squatting for a guaranteed monthly ticket, while the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896426/10415367 HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.